The views, information, and opinions expressed during the following program are solely those of the individuals involved and do not necessarily represent the views of Access Communications, its representatives, or its employees.
Good evening, Regina. Welcome to Decision 2024, the Regina Municipal Vote coverage on AccessNow TV. I'm Ryan McNally and joined alongside Graham Kondo. Graham, the resident AccessNow TV City Council guru, if you will. He's been to every council meeting since I can remember. Graham, I guess, tell us about that, your time covering council.
I've been covering council for many years. There was a 3-year gap between 2006 and 2009 when I was up in Saskatoon, but I've covered city council since probably 2003, other than that time.
And again, that's a lot of council meetings and, no shortage of issues debated in that time. There's also no shortage of experience down at City Hall for us here on AccessNow TV. Down at City Hall, here's Lisa Peters from Talk of the Town. She's inside Henry Baker Hall. Lisa, take it away.
Hey, Ryan. Hey, Graham. It's Lisa here. I'm down at City Hall, and I'm going to be here for the duration until a mayor is announced. We're going to bring you first in a few minutes Jim Nickel, the returning officer. We're going to talk a little bit about the ballot process, and then we'll maybe bring back a public school trustee. We're going to talk to them just about the process, the job, what is expected, and then we hope to find some candidates along the way, and we'll bring you the results live from City Hall, and we'll hopefully get an interview with the mayor.
Hey, that sounds great, Lisa. We'll be checking in with you a little later on, as you mentioned. Thank you so much, Lisa. And we'll switch back here to the studio. Graham, I guess what would be one of the bigger issues you feel in this election?
There are several issues that are facing the city of Regina right now, and I wrote down just a few of them. Then these are just a few. The big one, I think, is homelessness. It was right on the city's doorstep last year for sure. Affordable housing is a big thing. Infrastructure is a big thing. The new aquatic center is a big thing. The library downtown is a big thing. Riel is a big thing. So there's a lot of issues facing the city, and the new council that's coming on tonight is going to have to make a lot of hard decisions in the coming years.
And we'll talk about those those finite issues throughout the night for sure. But first things first, let's look at who's on the ticket for the mayoral race. And we'll start with Lori Bresciani, a longtime Ward 4 councillor, who decided to run this year for the election, hoping to, touch on a reconsideration for, that new aquatic center that you mentioned, replacing the Lawson. Obviously, it comes at a hefty price tag, and it was a very hot button issue, on social media and, just out on the streets too. So maybe that's, something that gets decided here tonight. She has 6 pillars that she wants to touch on, financial responsibility, of course, being one of them. That's a pretty common theme here, folks, tonight that we'll hear a lot about as, both ward hopefuls for candidates as well as mayoral candidates, both wanting to touch on fiscal responsibility, accountability, transparency, those buzzwords, if you will. Definitely get talked about economic development, as you mentioned, affordable housing, public safety, all that sorts of thing. That's Lori Bresciani's primary platform focus.
And she has said that if she becomes mayor, one of the first things she'll do is bring forward a motion to reconsider the previous motion of providing funding for the new aquatic center. She's very adamant that council needs to look at the option of refurbishing the Lawson. So we'll see how that goes. The other big contender, I'd say, is the incumbent, Sandra Masters. She was elected in 2020, and she has said publicly that if she's elected tonight, this will be her last term coming up. we'll take that as we've heard that before, but we'll take her on her word that way. She's, especially in the last year or so, she's been trying to tackle some of the financial things that have been going on at the city halls. The Audit and Finance Committee, both she and Jason Mancinelli, councillor for Ward 9, they want to create a more transparent way of showing the city's finances, and she's coined the phrase the $1 billion infrastructure deficit, and it's real. It's there. We see it every time we go to work each day. So we'll see what if she's elected, what plans she has in the new term.
Another candidate I want to talk about as well, Graham, is Bill Pratt. You know, when he first announced his election campaign, it was a real flash in the pan. It was, bright, new, something different. He's the former CEO of Eden Care Communities. He decided to run upon hearing about the individual who froze to death at a bus stop on New Year's Eve. So obviously, a tragic start to his mayoral run. He's hoping for a vibrant downtown, a thriving business community, and, a community well-being and a sense of citizen pride, which, I'll be honest, I think we kind of lack sometimes here in Regina.
Mm-hmm. And another candidate that comes out for me is Bevan Fox. The big reason is she's well known here at Access. She's one of the hosts of The Four on AccessNow TV. You haven't seen her lately just because during the campaign we have to give equal opportunity to all candidates. So once the campaign is over, you'll see her back on The Four as well. She's the big thing with Bevan is she wants to have more tangible ways of recognizing truth and reconciliation, rather than, and these are her words, where rather than just wearing orange shirts, that there are more tangible ways to address truth and reconciliation.
Looking at another candidate as well, Sean Sparvier is an interesting case. I've really only seen one or two campaign signs for Sparvier out there, but he is a member of the Cowessess First Nation. He's wanting to, get health more focused at the city level. And he's looking for potentially a tiny home area to help address homelessness as well. And chickens as well is something that's on his campaign platform as well. So could be something that we see here in Regina, backyard chickens.
Well, it was a long debate that night. I remember that night when the issue of backyard chickens came up, and eventually council decided against it. But we'll see if it's brought up again. Another candidate to watch for is Rod Williams. He's a former Regina Pat. He also won the Memorial Cup with the Medicine Hat Tigers back in the day. He's about affordability and lowering taxes. So we'll see how well he does in this election.
Another candidate to watch here tonight, Kevin Kardash, who's originally from Grenfell. He serves currently as the president of the Regina 35 Lions Club. He's all about policing, public safety, possibly hiring more police officers, doing more patrol, that sort of thing, and after-school programs, looking after the kids as well when it comes to Mr. Kardash's platform.
One up-and-comer who's really come out of nowhere, I'd say, is Chad Baczynski. He's kind of the young. I think he's the youngest candidate in the mayoral race, and there have been a lot of lawn signs with him as well. He's involved with the North Central Community Association, which is always a hot topic in the city. And his other issue is construction as well. He wants to look at extending hours for road construction, and possibly go to a 24-hour clock. So that would be an interesting way to help to tackle this $1 billion infrastructure deficit.
An interesting candidate too, Graham, Nathaniel Houghton, who runs the Soup After Dark program. That's formerly the City Hall cafeteria. But however, he is wanted for his arrest for an alleged assault on Saskatchewan Beach. So he did not partake in the debate earlier on in the campaign. But that's someone on the ballot for sure.
He's on the ballot, and just to clarify, he wants to put Soup After Dark program in the cafeteria. Yes. But right now, like you said, there's a warrant out for his arrest, and we'll let justice take place, and that's all I should say about that. Mm-hmm. I guess let's move on to Melina Bushenlonga, who was a standout in our debate for several reasons. These are her words that she said that Regina is the worst place she's ever lived. She also is interested in legalizing prostitution and in an area between Pilot Butte and Regina. I don't know if the province would be happy with that idea, but we'll leave it there. But she's wanting to. Her big thing is public safety. She has said that when she walks around Regina, she doesn't feel safe. So public safety is a big issue with this city.
And again, no shortage of candidates on the mayoral ticket this year. The last one we'll talk about is, of course, Bob Pierce, known affectionately as Dancing Bob here in Regina. He has a background in motor repair, but he's against what he calls dangerous chemicals in our drinking water. That is the candidates on the mayoral ticket this year. We'll throw it back to City Hall. Lisa Peters is joined by City Returning Officer Jim Nickel.
All right, we are here with Jim Nickel. He is the returning officer. And first off, for anyone who doesn't know, what is the role of a returning officer?
The returning officer oversees the election in all its compartments. So I have a large staff that started off about 18 months ago putting this together. And then over those 18 months, we review a number of things. We take reports to council to determine the number of polling stations, those kind of things. And then we prepare all that. We determine the specific polling locations. And then everything is up and running with advertising, information nights for candidates, voter information that's on the website, and it all culminates in tonight.
All right. And tonight's a big night. How are you thinking voter turnout, or how is it looking so far?
Well, so far it appears to be on track to surpass 2020. It's early, but our initial indications are that it is higher. We saw a bit of an uptake in the numbers from the advance polls that were run from November 1st to the 4th. And we're currently getting reports from various stations across the city of long lineups. So what we need people to understand is that if they're in line by 8 o'clock, they will still get to vote. Be patient. Our staff is trying to process voters through as fast as we can. But we're very pleased and a bit surprised with the huge voter turnout that appears to be happening.
I think someone just showed up here to vote, and I think you sent them out and just said, just get there before 8 o'clock, right?
That's right. A citizen came in thinking that they could vote here. We quickly found out where the individual lived and sent them off to a polling station about 5 blocks from here.
All right. Now, the City of Regina really works hard to get more voters out. So you talked a little bit about advance. What other things are you doing to get more voters, give them more opportunities to get out and vote?
Well, we do have the 4 days of advance polling. We have a mobile poll that people could apply to if they have mobility issues. Our staff would actually go out and take a ballot to them. I think we had 1 or 2 requests that came in today. We have the popular mail-in ballot application. And then, of course, because of the proximity with the provincial election, we really focused our emphasis on communication, lots of billboards, lots of advertising to help people understand that the election was separate and apart from the provincial election on the 28th. And then we have a top-rate website that we've received lots of accolades for in terms of the breadth and the comprehensiveness of its information.
All right. Now, I understand tonight we're going to do some electronic tabular voting. So talk us through that and how it will all work.
Well, when people vote, they were given their ballot. They marked their ballot. They placed it in a secrecy sleeve. They gave it to the returning officer at the polling station, and then they would place those into the electronic vote tabulating machines, and everyone, the candidate or the voter, could actually watch the vote count go up. The ballot would drop in the back of us to a security box, which it's placed there for 90 days in case there's I'm losing my train of thought, if we have a recount. But the vote tabulating machines have been used by the City of Regina since 2000. We do extensive testing over a course of months. They're very accurate. We're very confident that the results will hopefully come in quickly. The delay tonight could be because of the long lines. So those polls will not be reporting until each and every voter in the line before 8 o'clock has gone through.
Okay. Well, it's a good thing, those long lines. So initial results coming in once the lines are done, what time are you thinking? Are we thinking 8:15, 8:30?
I think it's going to be closer to 8:30 to 8:45. We may have some initial results that come in from the advanced polls because those will start to be run through the tabulators at 8 o'clock, or the mail-in ballots, I should say. So those will be going through at 8 o'clock. So we should have some initial results, within 20 to 30 minutes. And then again, I expect that the large reporting will start to come through shortly after that.
I forgot to ask you about mail-in ballots. Do you know about how many you sent out to how many you got back?
We sent out, it's my understanding, approximately about 3,500. And this afternoon when I was out at the election office about 3 o'clock, we had received approximately 2,300 back. So whether we got another mail run from Canada Post later in the day, I'm not sure. Not as high as last time, but then of course the 2020 election was held during COVID.
Is there anything else I haven't asked you about the voting process that you could share with our viewers?
No, I think tonight's results hopefully will tell people that the public was engaged. They had a wealth of candidates to choose from differing views. We had no races either in the city or in the public or the separate school boards that was won by acclamation. So I think that means that people are paying attention. They want their voice heard. And I think that what I'm hoping is increased voter turnout tonight will confirm that.
That is great news. Thank you so much, Jim.
Thank you.
All right, well, back to you, Graham and Ryan.
Thank you so much, Lisa. And Graham, before we get into who's running in the wards, I wanted to touch on a point that Jim brought up in that interview, and that's voter turnout. They're expecting it to be much higher than it was in 2020. They're also surprised by that voter turnout. I guess, why do you think that would be?
Well, typically a voter turnout in municipal elections, and it's not just in Regina, it's all over North America. Municipal politics, unfortunately, gets the short end of the stick. Like there's the federal that gets a lot of voters, the provincial that gets a lot of voters. Municipal is kind of the forgotten middle child. But I was interested to hear Jim say he was surprised at the number of voters turning out. I'm not actually, because we're seeing, and we saw this in 2020 as well, where there's a large number of candidates that were running. In this election specifically, there's over 90 candidates in both city council and in the school boards, and that's the result of former city councillor Mike O'Donnell, who before his term was up in 2020, he brought forward a motion to reduce some of the barriers for people to run, a lot of the financial barriers, and now we're reaping the rewards of that.
Yes, I believe free busing, free transit was one of those barriers that was lifted as well. I know there was a lot of free buses roaming around, my neighborhood around the polling stations as well. But with that, though, Graham, we're still expecting voter turnout to be, let's be honest, less than 30%, right? So, is voter turnout, this big of a deal, this early on, and how do we address it?
That's the big question, and city councils have been trying to address it for years. Again, not just in Regina. I will hand it to Elections Regina and the clerk's office. They've made it extremely easy to vote. It really has to be on the voter themselves to make the effort to come out and vote. So it's a tough question to answer because so far nobody's been able to find an answer to that question.
And you heard Jim Nickel as well. If you're in line when the polls close at 8 o'clock, you will still be able to let your voice be heard and hit the ballot box later on tonight. All right, let's get into who's running in these wards. As you mentioned, Graham, tons of choices to choose from here, including in Ward 1, where there's 4 separate candidates this year, including Dan Rasevich, former Saskatchewan Rough Rider, who's, after fiscal responsibility, community safety, positive change. Those are the big 3 in his campaign that I've noticed. And he says he wants to be a team player, leave no one behind. I should mention Cheryl Stadenchuk, who served on the Ward 1 City Council seat, is not running again this time around, too. So just a 1 term for Cheryl. Moving on, second candidate is Jessie Morris, who wants to focus on what makes the city thrive. She wants to support local business, maintain infrastructure, create a city where people feel seen, safe, supported. She says she's a librarian and has collaborated with every level of government to build programs and services. Interesting candidate here for Ward 1 is Joanne Crawford. She was a 3-term MLA with the NDP in 3 separate ridings that all kind of just morphed together, right? Regina Lake Centre, Regina Rosemont. She says she wants affordable services, maintain infrastructure, and sustainable planning, all while stewardship of tax dollars is maintained. She also wants quote-unquote accountability, another buzzword, another person that will be bringing that up here tonight, that wants to address boarded up houses and free up space for affordable housing. Last person running in Ward 1 is Tala Khan. He wants to be finding more comprehensive ways to keep money in the pockets of Regina residents, and wants to also assure efficient access to health care and ensure safety in Regina.
So a couple of heavy hitters in Ward 1 for sure. Ward 2 is I think is the one that has the most candidates of all the wards.
Yes, it is. 8.
They've actually got 7, actually.
It's 7?
Yeah, it's 7. But the incumbent Bob Hawkins, he's already a two-term incumbent. He was elected in 2012. And so, sorry, no, 3 terms. My apologies to Bob Hawkins there. He's a professor at the U of R. He's a law professor, and he's been in council for a number of years. This term, however, he was very involved in the Catalyst Committee, which brought about the issues of the Aquatic Center, the downtown library, and also the downtown arena, possibly. And also he came around to believe in the baseball stadium issue for the Red Sox. So that has drawn some criticism as well from people that realize that these don't come cheap, but these are things that he championed in this last term. Some of the other candidates, there's Animal Akonda. He's got a postgraduate degree in electrical engineering. He's working for his PhD. Again, these are some of the buzzwords. He's looking for housing affordability, lowering taxes, and just some of the normal things that you need that you try to shoot for in an election. Then there's Zaid Hamid, who's a local business owner. Again, he's interested in infrastructure, affordable housing, and sustainability. Chidi Igwe, he's a professor at the U of R. There's actually a number of professors that are running in this election in Ward 2, and he's one of them. He's got 6 years working with the government of Saskatchewan. He's got a number of key issues that he's listed. A few of them are aging infrastructure and educational opportunities and a safe and vibrant community, those kinds of things. Then there's Andre Magnan. He's an educator researcher at the U of R, so this is another person involved with the U of R as well. Again, affordable housing, modern zoning, transit, sustainability, homelessness, and infrastructure are his main key areas. Then there's Sankit Patel, who's a local business owner. He's looking for better roads, public safety, support for local business. Last but certainly not least, there's George Siklis, who ran in the last election and again lost to Bob Hawkins. He works in the auto industry, and he's looking for low taxes, safe streets, and efficient spending. So this award is one that will be interesting to watch, because there's been a lot of criticism gone towards Bob Hawkins, but we'll see if that translates to anything in this ward.
And again, 7 candidates in that ward. That's a pretty healthy ticket down in Ward 2. Ward 3 only has 3 candidates, but is also the second biggest ward in Regina, so it serves about 21,000 eligible voters. So looking forward to covering Ward 3 tonight, including David Froh, who promises to be an active voice for Ward 3, revitalize downtown with a focus on residential density, public safety, spaces, arts, culture, commercial amenities. He also wants to enrich local supply chain to be able to feed the world, as he mentions on his website, that we're a landlocked city with abundance of resources around us, so we may as well use them. He also wants to support the visitor economy, bring more events, concerts, conventions, trade shows, etc. to Regina as well. Barry Wilkie, another candidate running in Ward 3. He's all about fiscal responsibility, accountability for capital expenditures. Again, accountability. That will be brought up often here tonight. Infrastructure should be the #1 priority, according to Mr. Wilkie. And he, and I quote, says, can no longer allow poor decisions to take place in our city. Last candidate in Ward 3 is Fayek Tanvir, who says safety, affordability, economic growth, tax reform, and inclusivity are all focus areas for Mr. Tanvir. He also believes in practical solutions, committed to putting community first. And you'll notice that the incumbent Andrew Stevens is not running again in Ward 3 this time around.
No, he decided to call it quits after his second term, that ward is up for grabs. Another ward that's up for grabs is Ward 4 because incumbent Lori Bresciani is running for mayor. If you recall, in the election of 2020, she was the only councillor to be acclaimed for her ward. This time she's running for mayor, so this ward is up for grabs. And again, we have 7 candidates running in this ward. This will be another one to watch for. Some of the candidates, there's Balvir Bethal. He's a journeyman electrician, and he's a board director for the Sikh Society of Regina. He's looking for effective allocation of tax dollars, advocating for affordable living, and some of the key points that have been coming around. So then there's Mark Burton, who's heavily into volunteerism. He's a former Park and Rec Advisory Board member. He also has time with Hockey Regina, the Regina Piranha Summer Swim Club, and then the Regina Rowing Club and the Regina Dragon Boat Festival. So he's got a lot of ties to some of the community associations in this city. So he's been very vocal about his criticisms of city council. He wants to look at the quote unquote, these are his words, traffic noose in southeast Regina, and I believe that would be Arcola Avenue, which has become very bottlenecked over the last number of years. And Riel is a big thing that's on his mind as well. He calls it Riel gone rogue. Again, those are his words. The next candidate is Glenn Geiger. He's a retired bank manager, and he wants to. His hot topics are public safety, infrastructure development, and attraction and retention of businesses in Regina. Then there's Danish Hassan, and if you saw his campaign video, yes, it's Danish like the pastry, but he's an industrial systems engineer in training, and his big topics are tax hikes and poor management of city services. Then there's Deb Nickshai, who has experience in municipal and provincial government, and this is an interesting point. She's been endorsed by the Regina and District Labour Council, and as far as I understand, she's the only candidate they have endorsed in any of the wards. So she's interested in inclusivity, homelessness, and improved essential services. Our second last candidate is Kofo Oni. She has experience in the financial services, and she's also a member of the City of Regina's appeal board. So she has experience in civic politics, just not in a political role right now. Community safety and well-being and affordable housing and sustainable development, again, all key issues that most candidates have said are key issues for them. So that's Kofo Oni. The last candidate in this ward is Charles Ume, who's a local business owner. He wants to concentrate on neighborhood care and infrastructure, safer neighborhoods, and freeze taxes and create vibrancy and economic growth.
That's Ward 4. 6 candidates in Ward 5. John Findura, who has served that role, that ward rather, since 2009, not running this year. But who is? Dharmesh Dave is running. He serves as a priest at the Regina Hindu Temple. He's also a board member at the Multilingual Association of Regina. The big thing is for Dharmesh is he wants Regina voices heard and to empower the community. That's what we could find on Dharmesh Dave's run here for Ward 5. Grant Jakubowski, rather, he is a sales and financial manager. He's pushing for better use of tax dollars, infrastructure, safety, vibrancy, and growth are his main platform focuses. Marianne Moots has served 24 years in financial services. She does not want to see council members have a salary increase. And she's also after fiscal responsibility at the City Hall level. Letitia Oystrick has been a supervisor at the City of Regina for 15 years and wants tax dollars being used responsibly. This is a growing theme in Ward 5 with many of these candidates pushing for responsible use of tax dollars. Shafan Shafi, as a U of R student, wants to bring a fresh perspective to Ward 5. He wants to minimize construction time, address property tax, promote transparent budgeting, and also wants voices heard. And lastly, Sarah Turnbull. She's a project management experienced individual. He has been an accessibility advocate. She has a daughter in a wheelchair. Community inclusion, access to services, responsible growth, accountability, and transparency. Those are all campaign focuses for Ms. Turnbull.
Moving on to Ward 6, and now this is currently Daniel LeBlanc's ward. He's no longer running. He ran and won in 2020, so after his first term, after one term, he's decided to move along. So this ward is another one that's up for grab, one of 6 that are up for grabs. So we've got 6 candidates in Ward 6. The first one is Fawaz Adagoke. Interesting thing about him is that he actually was listed as a candidate for the Progressive Conservative Party of Saskatchewan in the provincial election last month. However, when the deadline came, he was not on the ticket. So he was listed as a candidate, but he actually wasn't a candidate. So, I'm guessing he's concentrating on his candidacy in Ward 6. So his key issues are addiction crisis, infrastructure, and inclusivity, and he's got a lot of experience working in social work. Glenn Douglas is the next one. He's looking for fiscal responsibility, transparency, and he's going to be guided by his constituents. One other candidate which caught my eye is Victoria Flores. She's a communications and marketing manager for Regina Open Door Society. So she has heavy roots in the multicultural aspect of our city. She's also a board member with the Heritage Community Association, which is a key issue in this ward for sure, just with the nature of the neighborhood in that ward. So she's interested in infrastructure development, community safety and well-being, food security, and amongst other things, business growth and economic development. Julian Levy he has a Bachelor of Business Admin at the U of R. He's interested in fiscal responsibility, youth engagement, and community involvement along with transparency and accountability. All key topics that we've seen with a bunch of other candidates so far. Then there's Corey Liebrecht, who's a retired steel worker, and he wants to concentrate on issues like infrastructure, community safety and security, balancing the budget, which I should point out the city legally has to do every year. Their budget has to be balanced, otherwise the province will come a knocking. He also wants to concentrate on city services and homelessness. The last candidate in this ward is David Whitrow. He's a chartered public accountant with a master's degree in business administration. So he's wanting to concentrate on corporate social responsibility, low taxes, effective services, and responsible growth. So that's Ward 6.
Time now 8:03, so the polls are officially closed here in Regina. Unless you're in line. If you're in line, feel free, stay in that line. If you're watching us on YouTube, on our YouTube channel, stay in line for sure, because that the polls will not close until you get your vote in the box. So with it being now past 8 o'clock, the polls are going to be closed in some areas. We'll start to see some of those results trickle in. So we will continue on reading off who's running in these wards, including Ward number 7. There's 4 candidates, including the incumbent, Tarina Nelson, who was elected back in 2020. She prides herself as an accessibility advocate, a $1 million elevator discussion at budget debate last year. She's all about fiscal responsibility, public safety, community development, and business growth. And as I mentioned, the incumbent was elected in 2020. John Gross, also running in Ward 7, 30 plus years as a businessman in construction, property management, and journeyman. His only priority listed here so far is lowering property taxes. Obviously a hot button issue for Mr. Gross. Abdi Gura, bachelor's degree in social work, master's degree in public administration. He was also the 2022 recipient of the Queen Elizabeth II Platinum Jubilee Medal for voluntary and nonprofit services sector. His main priorities: snow removal, road maintenance, garbage and recycling, affordable housing as well. The 4th candidate on the ticket in Ward 7 is Shabna Raduns, postal worker, military veteran, president of the Regina and District Labor Council. Her 3 main priorities: affordability, accessibility, and inclusivity.
Turning now to Ward 8, this ward, just because of redistricting, which the city has to do, every city in Saskatchewan has to do after a certain point. So Ward 8 has changed now, where North Central used to be in Ward 3, it is now in Ward 8. So whoever wins this ward as a councillor will have North Central as a hot topic. So the incumbent in this ward is Shannon Zakidniak. She won in 2020, and in this election, she got an award with the Canada's Clean 50 Award. In the cities category, they recognize some of her work as a councillor in the realm of the environment. And that was something that was top of her mind ever since she became elected. At any time at City Council, when somebody was asking a question about or bringing forward any kind of a motion, she'd always turn it back to the environmental impacts. So right now she's the vice chair of the Federation of Canadian Municipalities Green Municipal Fund Council. That's a mouthful. That's Shannon. She's the incumbent. There's another Shannon that's running in Ward 8. That's Shannon Oral Bast. She has experience in human services, corrections, and medical social work, and she's been a private therapist since 2021. Then there's Corey Terry, who lives in North Central. So if he was living in North Central last election, he'd likely be running in Ward 3, but this time he's running in Ward 8. His main concerns is public safety in that neighborhood. He doesn't call it North Central; he calls it Washington Park, because that's what it's listed on the map. So safety and crime are definitely on his mind in this election. Then there's Alex Tack. He's a local business entrepreneur. His main topics are inclusivity in decision-making, accountable fiscal responsibility, and independent civil servant leadership. Then our last candidate, our 5th candidate, which is the last, is Mohammed Zafar. He has a background in engineering and software systems development. Road and sidewalk maintenance, which is a hot topic for everybody, is his main concern, along with revitalization of local businesses and public safety and gang violence.
Switching over to Ward 9, there's 5 candidates in Ward 9, including the incumbent Jason Mancinelli. He was elected back in 2016. He's running, I believe this would be his 3rd term, if my math is correct there. Has been critical of changes to REAL during council meetings this last term. He's chair of the Audit and Finance Committee. He's pushing for better pathways, roads, water network, progress on Coopertown, and affordability as well. Switching over to other candidates in that ward, Reed Hill running this year. This will be his 2nd time running. He has a history degree with a minor in political science, currently works at Regina Nissan. He's a military reservist for 3 years, currently executive member at the Royal Canadian Legion. Wants the city to focus priorities on not only basic needs, but also helping people who, quote, cannot help themselves through partnerships. and believes this election is about talking to people again. Moving on, Saad Sadiqwe is also running in this election. He says he's hoping to improve the community's declining health resulting from inadequate public safety, rising taxes, and the poor maintenance of infrastructure. Jeff Soroka also running in this election. He's currently with the RCMP in the prosecutorial position. He's critical of the price tag of the new aquatic center, of course, as you know, many folks running in this election are. He wants to curb capital expenditures, implement a spending cap. He's also been a critic of real and wants to see value in-house expertise. And lastly, on the Ward 9 ticket is Tanis Wilder. She's the academic chair for the Schools of Digital Innovation and Creative Media at Sask Polytech, hoping to stop property tax hikes and wants to advocate for road improvements in Northwest Regina.
All right, well, our last ward is Ward 10, and this one is up for grabs as well. The incumbent, Landon Mole, he ran in the 2020 election. He's decided to just keep it at one term. So we've got five candidates in this election, and one candidate which is no stranger to Ward 10 is Jerry Flagel. He was a long-time councillor for Ward 10 from 2003 to 2020, except for when he lost to Chris Zarka. Many Rider fans would know that name. He lost to Chris Zarka in 2009. So Jerry Flagel is no stranger to Ward 10. Then there's Anita Adefoye, who is pursuing a PhD in public policy. She's also a local entrepreneur. She's interested in equitable city services and a future-forward city, and she wants to create a vibrant city with inclusivity and affordable living. Then there's Clark Bezzo. He's an engineer and he's also a business owner. He's got a business that helps condominium associations with financial planning and capital projects. Like many other candidates, he's interested in lower tax increases, support for local businesses, reducing crime, and improving infrastructure. Then there's Chris Simi, who's got experience in infrastructure construction, television production, volunteerism, communications, and small business ownership. So he's kind of a jack of all trades. His key topics are community safety and efficient policing, appropriate use of Ward 10 roads, and on his website he lists a number of roads in Ward 10 that he feels need to be addressed. And there's support for seniors and people with disabilities, and housing insecurity and homelessness and diversity. Last candidate in this ward is Umar Syed, who has, pardon me, I apologize, who has experience in volunteerism and education, and also he wants to develop ideas about youth advocacy. So that's Ward 10.
And should jump in there as well on Ward 10. Full disclosure, Chris Simi does serve as a camera operator with AccessNow TV every now and again. See him at Regina Pats games every now and again as well. So Chris Simi running in Ward 10. Let's send it back down to City Hall. Lisa Peters is joined by the incumbent trustee of Subdivision 2 on the Regina Public School Board election, also taking place tonight, Tracy McMurchie.
Yeah. All right, well, I'm here at City Hall, and we've got Tracy McMurchie. She is the Regina Public School Board trustee to Subdivision 2. And I think we all know that between the public and separate school board trustees, they play an important role in the learning experience of the current and the future students. So I wanted to bring Tracy on. You know, the polls have closed, so I really want to talk about your role and a little bit more. So what do you see as the most pressing issue facing our school boards?
Really, what we hear the most is just about classroom size, class size, and classroom complexities. So really that all depends on, a lot of it depends really on funding, right? And having adequate funding to ensure that the teachers have what they need to teach in class, and having the resources in class. And so I think that, you know, it's really important to be able to accommodate being able to teach the diverse population in schools and in the growing number of students in schools. Yeah.
So how does a school board trustee ensure that all the voices, including the parents, the teachers, the children, that they're all represented in the board decisions?
Lisa, there really is no substitute for showing up, right? Being engaged, talking to people. So really connecting with the schools and everyone inside the schools and outside the school community. So from the students and the teachers and vice principals, administration, to the families and then the parents, including parents and the school community, and being able to communicate with the community, but also listening, right? Listening and understanding what the needs are, and being receptive and responsive to to the questions that come in, to the emails and the phone calls, and really be responsive.
Right. So how do you in your role as a school board trustee support the teachers both in terms of resources and professional development?
Well, again, it's about listening, right, and advocating for the teachers and hearing and understanding what they need to do their jobs and what they need for really professional development. So listening to them, ensuring that we are really accommodating, meeting their needs on professional development, such as like if they want to understand more about deeper and intensive needs, or any mental health, anti-racism, and truth and reconciliation. So more of that kind of lens.
You bring those up, and some of those are controversial topics. What is your role on a board on those topics?
Well, topics really, it involves curriculum, right? So it's all what kids learn in class and what's taught is follows the curriculum, and the curriculum really is set by the Ministry of Education. So they set the ministry sets the curriculum, but what can happen is those kind of topics that are taught in class, if parents have concerns, they can choose to exempt their child from learning about a certain topic in class. We do have an AP for that. AP is an administrative procedure, and so there is an AP for if parents want to exempt their child, and really that's a process, and it involves really understanding the outcomes first of the topic or the subject, and once the parents understand that outcome, if they still choose to exempt their child, there's an exemption, an AP for that. I think it's like AP 206, 207, something like that.
All right. What role does the school board play in addressing safety concerns such as bullying or school security?
Yeah, so safety is priority for all our schools, in all our schools, and so we make sure that we have the policies in place that reflect our priority of safety and keeping kids safe and making sure they feel and know that they belong. We also make sure that our programs are in line with our strategies and our priority of safety, such as the School Resource Officer program, and make sure that we're monitoring that, we're reviewing that, and making sure that it's meeting our needs. As well, in the schools with the kids, having the kids understand, because there's such a diverse population of kids, students in our schools, making sure that there's cultural learnings and truth and reconciliation, and around pride celebrations. So making sure that kids understand each other, and the more they understand each other, and get along, I think it's just it makes it a safe place for all.
Right. And my last question for you, I promise, is what are you most proud of in your first term as a Regina Public School Board trustee?
Well, so many things I'm proud of, but it's what I'm most proud of are the connections that I've made with the schools, the inside the schools, the students, the families, the principals, and the teachers, but also the community itself, and as well, our SCCs play such an important role in our schools, the fun that the kids have in schools. So SCCs are school community councils, and they're made of engaged parents and teachers attend, and principals and vice principals. So just making sure that kids are having fun in schools. And I do connect with other schools as well, because as a board, we as trustees, we connect with, we're responsible for the whole division, all the schools. So I have tried to connect with other schools as well, And did you know there's a hospital school in Regina? So things like that, where we're always learning, we're always making sure that we're engaged with the whole division and understanding people, and that's what I'm really proud of, just being able to connect and build relationships.
All right. Well, thank you, Tracy, for dropping in with us today. And I'm not sure if any election results are coming up yet, but I wish you the best of luck tonight. All right. Well, back to you, Ryan and Graham, and I'm sure we'll hear more about who is running for our school board trustee candidates.
Absolutely, Lisa. And as you mentioned, we are expecting results coming up here within the next few minutes here, Graham. But first things first, let's jump into who's running in the public school board. Lots of candidates throughout the subdivisions here. 7 subdivisions for the public school boards, including Subdivision 1. Ted Gilletta, the incumbent who was elected back in 2020. Have you read his book, Graham?
I have not read his book.
It's a really good read, actually.
I should read it, yes.
It's a good read. He was elected in 2020, pushing for new schools, adequate funding, advocacy for children, and diversity. Kelly Bond is running against Ted this year. She was endorsed by the Regina Civic Action Awareness Network, has a background in IT, looking for basic education, fiscal responsibility, social responsibility, and good values. And, you know, the topic of parent involvement in school, definitely going to be a hot button issue this year, you know, with, you know, recent political decisions made at the provincial level, especially. But, you know, Kelly Bond definitely pushing for looking for parents to get more involved and be more recognized as vital partners in their children's education. So that is Subdivision 1.
Yeah, and parental rights is a hot button topic. Like you said, not just at the municipal level, but also the provincial level. So regardless of who wins tonight on the public school board, that's going to be a big issue going forward. So Subdivision 2, Elizabeth Strom was the incumbent. She decided not to run again. She was elected in 2020. So this I believe is the only subdivision where there's going to be for sure a new board trustee. And there are 4 candidates in the subdivision. First one is Jason Agar, who has 11 years experience as a teacher at the Regina Catholic Schools. And then there's Cale McClellan, who's a resident of Boot Hill neighborhood. And then there's Tracy McMurchie. Actually, my apologies. Elizabeth Strom was the incumbent in 2020. I apologize. I have to remember my own notes here. Tracy McMurchie ran in the 2022 by-election, so she succeeded Elizabeth Strom. So Tracy was who was the person who was just interviewed by Lisa Peters. She has a degree in business administration and also has a CPA designation. And as trustee, she says her priority is ensuring schools are safe, inclusive, and she wants to take care of all children. The final candidate in this riding is endorsed by the Regina Civic Action Awareness Network. They have become a major player in this school board election. So that's Carla Taylor Brown, who's the candidate endorsed by that organization.
Switching gears to Subdivision 3, there's just 2 candidates in Subdivision 3 this year. Adam Hicks looking for a 3rd term. He was first elected in 2016. He's part of the Albert Park Community Association, Summer Bash, Summer Market. He's also part of the U of R Senate. He's looking for safe and inclusive schools, is Adam Hicks. He also makes it known that he has, quote, no hidden agenda. He, again, stands for the safe, inclusive schools where students and staff excel. Mandeep Sinmar, also running in Subdivision 3. She's, of course, again, endorsed by the Regina Civic Awareness Action Network. She says she has 15 years of experience in customer service, voluntary social work, and unit support work in our local healthcare system. She says she's after high-quality education, family and community involvement, transparency and accountability, diverse needs, and community engagement. So that is Subdivision 3.
Subdivision 4 has got 3 candidates, and the incumbent is Cindy Anderson, and she's the longest-serving trustee on the board. She's been She's been a trustee with the school board since 2009, and healthcare has been a big part of her campaign. She partnered with the Saskatchewan Cancer Clinic to promote student and teacher health, and she's also a health representative on the Saskatchewan School Board Association. Tolu Florin is another candidate running in this subdivision. She has a bachelor's and master's degree in social work, and her campaign is an acronym of TEAM. So it's Truth and Reconciliation, Equity and Inclusion, Accountability and Innovation, and Mental Health and Well-being. The last candidate in this subdivision is Tracy Sparrowhawk, who is the endorsed RCAN candidate, Regina Civic Awareness Action Network. So she's been endorsed by them. And she served on several professional boards and parent-teacher committees and service organization. And she wants to recommend core educational skills, tax dollars invested for maximum benefit, transparency, emphasis on student achievement, and learning and growth.
Moving on to Subdivision 5, Sarah Cummings-Truskowski is the incumbent in Subdivision 5. She was first elected in 2020, so looking for her second term. She's, I believe, according to my notes here, the poverty in Regina Public Schools is part of Cummings-Truskowski's work. A report that investigated the root causes of child poverty and how the division, city, and other levels of government can help eradicate poverty for schools. She's after safe, equitable, and engaging schools where every student feels they belong and can succeed. Previously was a high school visual art teacher. Children attend school in the division. So that's Sarah Cummings-Truskowski. Lee Harding is the candidate endorsed by RCAN, as we mentioned, Regina Civic Awareness Action Network. Former journalist, master's in public policy. He's after parental rights, focus on fundamentals, reasonable class size. He wants to encourage achievement and equity and allow parents to direct the moral upbringing of their children. And according to his City of Regina elections site page, says schools should be, and I quote, be for learning, not activism. So that is Subdivision 5.
Subdivision 6 has the largest number of candidates in the public school division, and this is the one where the incumbent decided not to run. So Tara Molson, who won the election in 2020, she's decided not to run in this election. The first candidate is Douglas Armbruster. This is the candidate in this subdivision that has been endorsed by RCAN. He's got political experience in the town of Raymore and the Horizon School Division. So school board politics is nothing new to him. Then there's Mohammed Zed Hassan, who is CEO of Global Recruitment and Consultancy, and he's a contributor to the Darul Falah Islamic Center and the Bangladesh Canada Association of Regina. He's an advocate for school support, collaboration, and diversity. Then there's Laura Luby. I see we've got some results coming in, so we'll just plow through these and get to the results right away here. Laura Luby, she's interested in supporting all children, quality academics, safe schools, and support for parents and teachers. Last one is Brandon Shea Mutala. He's got a degree in business administration, and he's currently a shop steward at Evraz.
Subdivision 7 on the public side, we have Lacey Weeks as the incumbent, first elected in 2020, so looking for her second term. She's the outdoor educator with Nature Saskatchewan and a volunteer with Regina Car Share Cooperative. She chaired the Organizational Culture and Diversity Committee and the Policy, Governance and Sustainability Committee. Lisa wants Regina Public to be the best place for students to receive an education. She also wants to work to support students and staff to ensure people feel safe, welcome, and included. Lise Merle is running against her in Subdivision 7. She's the candidate endorsed by Regina Civic Awareness Action Network. She wants to prioritize, quote, traditional academic excellence, robust parental involvement, comprehensive student supports. She emphasized on her site fundamentals, reading, writing, math, fostering critical thinking and problem-solving skills, and again, believes parental inclusion and involvement is imperative, believes every student deserves support. Graham, you were going to talk about the separate school board as well.
Yes, the separate school board, they're a little different than the public school board. Instead of elected by subdivision, they're elected on an at-large basis. So they have so the top 7 candidates will make up the board for the separate school board, otherwise known as the Regina Catholic School Board. Other than one Catholic board trustee, which is Juliette Bouchy, all the remaining incumbents are running, and that includes Ryan Bast, Vicky Bunnell, Rob Bresciani, who if you don't know, he's married to Lori Bresciani, and then Robert Kowalchuk and Shauna Winninger and Darren Wilcox. So those incumbents are running. The newcomers to this separate school board election are Greg Fisher, Melanie Mackay, Kelly Miller, Bernard Wenga Chipping, and Janine Whitehouse. So 11 candidates in this separate school board. Seven of them will go on to be elected.
We're starting to see results come in, as you see on the cool graphics you got here. Chad Bashinsky, of course, leading so far. 6 polls reporting very early on here in the night so far, Graham. Mm-hmm. But before we get too far in the coverage tonight, let's go back to AccessNow TV's mayoral debate, what each candidate would do in their first 100 days.
We're going to talk about your first 100 days. The question is, after taking office, what will your first 100 days look like? This first question will go to you, Ms. Boschenlonga. You have 1 minute.
The first 100 days, I'm going to clean up the mess that somebody else left behind. That's the first 100 days I'm going to do. My door will be open always to everyone that brings in ideas here, all of the candidates, all right? And I will make sure that redirect and make sure the people who are working in the government body, they don't own the job. They're there to help the citizens of Regina. Me, myself, I choose as a Greek immigrant to open the first Greek school, chef, on the other side of the aisle, which is like a Washington Park. I have invested all my life savings for that building. I have applied for the initiatives that the city of Regina is supposed to give me back, and I didn't got $1 so far. No, no, no. And I will make sure that small businesses are really taken care of. And I will make sure that the fat check payment of the salary of the high positions in Regina will be limited, like
all right,
smaller.
Thank you, Ms. Boschenlonga. Mr. Bashinsky, you have 1 minute.
So first 100 days, I'm going to be meeting with city administration to really get a lay of the land, get a better understanding of what projects we have ongoing, what challenges they face. Next, we'll also, well, in parallel, we'll start to build a strong council, building those relationships and understanding what individuals' thoughts and ideas are, so we can start to build that framework to make sure we're all rowing in the same direction. We have at least 50% new councillors coming in, so that'll be important to understand where everybody's at. Public perception is that council was dysfunctional, so that's going to be a priority to make sure we don't let that happen again. I'm going to meet with stakeholders with the city, out in our business community and community organizations, build those relationships. I've had a number of those conversations already, and I'm excited to continue those. And I recognize there's a learning curve, and I'm excited for the challenge of that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bashinsky. To you, Mr. Kardash, you have 1 minute.
Well, my first 100 days, meeting with the new council, what it would be, the first meeting to ensure communication is what the first 100 days will look like. Create a plan. Include the pre-existing plan in the works, finalize at least one project to proceed. Providing a sit down with the homeless shelters and food services and community provides and have a winter plans in set. Who needs extra assistance, build a secure foundation, a budget for the first 6 months that we're not going over or under budget. Managing the money in a way in our best outcomes, and to work with all community leaders and organizations. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kardash. To you, Ms. Fox, your first 100 days. You have 1 minute.
The first would be introductions and welcome,
and meeting with the new executive council. And what our roles are: orientation, meeting with the staff, administration, reviewing priorities at task, and the plans. There's so many plans right now that are there. Reviewing the plans, and the groups start working immediately, because right now, you know, priority, look downtown, we have our young people dying, overdosing on the streets. We have our homeless people, and those would be my priorities for the first 100 days is for that.
Thank you, Ms. Fox. And to you, Mr. Williams, 1 minute.
My first 100 days as your mayor, I'll build bridges, reach out to business leaders. I'll reach out to the Regina Police Association and find out what they need to do their job properly and how to make the city safer. I'll talk to the city how we fix our infrastructure and make that a priority first. I'll work with Regina Chamber of Commerce to revitalize our downtown. I want to change the culture of negativity in our downtown. Make it friendlier, safer, and more accommodating. And I'll do that by talking to restaurants, business owners, and all the people that have stock in downtown's best interests. And thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Williams. To you, Mr. Pratt, you have 1 minute.
Thank you. Drawing on my experience as a leader who has stepped into organizations who were underperforming against their potential, I know the importance of the first 100 days. They set the tone. It's a journey that lays the groundwork for the positive relationships that will unfold over the next 4 years. I will focus on rebuilding the connection between the mayor, the city manager, senior executive team, and all city employees. I will work with council to ensure we come together and understand our role over the next 4 years. It's important that we work together and allow administration to do what they excel at and let the council do what they do. I will engage with key stakeholders across our city, including the Chamber of Commerce. I invite you to come with me on this 100-day journey. And at the end of the 100 days, I will report back to you on the progress I've made to achieve a clear alignment and agreement on where we're headed for the next 4 years. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Pratt. To you, Ms. Brashani, you have 1 minute.
Thank you. You know what? I will build a team. I'll build trust and build the foundation with my council, colleagues, and administration. We need to take what we heard at the doorstep and develop that roadmap. I'll meet with staff and empower them and appreciate what they do each and every day. I'll implement a leadership culture that prioritizes service to our residents that includes transparency, accessibility, and accountability, ensuring councillors are fully trained in governance, rules and best practices, and understanding the roles and responsibilities of a municipality. I'll engage community leaders, business owners, provincial and federal governments, and residents to rebuild trust. Collectively, we'll develop a roadmap to move us forward, reflecting what we heard from the taxpayers to move us forward for the next 4 years.
Thank you, Ms. Brashani. To you, Ms. Masters, 1 minute.
Day one, I get right back to work. I don't cost our city any time in learning the role of mayor or building the relationships that are needed. I'm going to be ensuring that we're continuing to build safer community and working to secure affordability as we prepare the next budget. If re-elected, I will use what I've learned and the experiences I've had over the last 4 years. I will meet with councillors to discuss the good work that is already underway and discover their interests in the various committees and what they're hoping to get accomplished over the next 4 years. We will ensure that the work that's been approved and the money that's been invested to date continues and continue building upon the relationship that have been developed in advancing the city, both economically and socially. This is an opportunity for Regina to further expand on the relationships that I've built with other levels of government, with business organizations, community-based organizations, and cultural associations. Given that we'll have a minimum of 6 new city councillors, no provincial representative in cabinet, we need to have an experienced mayor for stability at the city.
Thank you, Ms. Masters. And to you, Mr. Sparvier, what will your first 100 days look like? You've 1 minute.
When I seen this question, I was excited. I'd just be like a kid in a candy store, honestly, if I was at the mayor's office, because I don't even know where I'd start, honestly, because you'd want to do everything right away, right? Everything would become number one on your agenda. But what I like to do is data collection. And what do I mean by data collection? I mean going around and talking with everybody like everyone else has, one-on-one meetings with councils and meetings and coming up with an agenda that we're going to work towards for the first year, and then hopefully later on we can come up with the second year. But what else I'd really like to do and focus on is getting back to the worker, the actual individual worker. I like to understand where their jobs are, what their problems are, and what I'd like to do is actually for the first while is venture out into the actual working community of the city and help the people who have labor jobs and see what they do. Help the people at the desks that have the jobs. Help the people in all the different departments that we have in the city so we can get a good understanding of what's going on, because without getting that understanding at the ground level, at the individual level, instead of at the group level, I guess, where someone has to look after a group, we have to get back to the individual level. So that's where I want to get back to, is talking to the individuals, working with the individuals, and building a good relationship with them at an individual level.
Thank you, Mr. Sparvier.
And that was the first 100 days for the Regina mayoral debate, decision 2024 debate earlier on that you saw. Let's head quickly to the results in the mayoral election here in Regina. Looking like there's a pretty early lead. Again, this is early, just 13 polls of 43 reporting, but Chad Baczynski currently has, roughly a 700 vote lead over Mayor Sandra Masters.
Yeah, like I said earlier, he's kind of been the candidate that's come out of nowhere, and he's just taken the city by storm. Again, like you said, this is still early on. We'll see how things progress as the night goes on. But yeah, it looks like Chad Baczynski has become a force to be reckoned with.
We're going to switch over to Ward 3 as well. It is looking like we'll be able to call Ward 3 with David Froh in the lead, a very healthy 1,300 vote lead for David Froh in Ward 3. I'm going to be safe and say that this election in Ward 3 is pretty well over.
I'd say so. I mean, just looking at the website, he's got about 73% of the votes just after 13 polling stations have been looked at. This doesn't surprise me. He's a very high-profile candidate, and probably the most high-profile candidate of any ward. This doesn't surprise me in the least.
Obviously known for his work with the Regina Food Bank as well, and just
EDR
as well. Yes,
yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Very involved in civic duties as well, David Froh. So of course, looking like he will be the new councillor for Ward 3. Again, 13 of the 43 polls reporting so far. Regina Public Schools Subdivision 3. Wanted to get a look at that one as Adam Hicks, very popular candidate, looking like that he will win Subdivision 3 on the Regina Public School Board. Again, he's a very popular candidate, and that's my riding. And full disclosure, Adam Hicks had signs everywhere.
Yeah.
At least it seemed like it.
Yeah, we can safely call this for him. He's been of all the school board trustees in the public school division, he's been the one that's been the most high profile. Again, out in the public the most. He's been a proponent of a lot of community initiatives. Not only just there's been the summer bash, the other community involvements that he's been in. This, again, is not a big surprise.
Adam Hicks was even campaigning today. I saw him waving at cars on the Albert Street Bridge today. So, calling for people to still get to the polls, get out and vote on the day of the election, of course, today. Deadline to vote already 40 minutes past so far. So we will continue to watch for more election results. And we'll join Lisa Peters at City Hall shortly. I imagine she'll have some candidates to chat to every now and again. But until then, let's throw it back to the debate, if we could, to the chat about fiscal responsibility.
The first question will go to you, Mr. Sparvier. It's on fiscal responsibility. As mayor, how will you and your council ensure transparency in how our tax dollars are spent? You have 1 minute.
What I love about this question is there's lots of beautiful technology that's out there today that can help us with this. There's AI that's out there. AI can keep track of all of our expenditures and everything else like that, and keep live updates on the internet so people can see what's going on. And also we have to keep transparency with the people of the areas, or I guess of the wards that we're working in, and know what we're spending in their areas and know what is being spent on in their area. And I believe that all of this can be done with technology. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Sparvier. To you, Ms. Bushinlonga, you have 1 minute.
The question was, how are we going to manage the spending? Is that what it is?
The fiscal responsibility.
Okay, so I checked on a website, City of Regina website, about the spending of our taxes, and I've seen here police had this year more than anything and anybody else. And communities and investments like zero, and parks zero, and roads zero. I mean, that Saskatchewan Drive is horrible, like horrible. And I will check that my the taxes are really spent to the right decisions and the right projects for the better life for the residents. And I will make sure that whoever is in charge for the program or any program that has to be funded has to have the accountability and further actions.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Bushalonga. Mr. Bashinsky, 1 minute. It is your turn.
Okay. So first off, we need clear and comprehensive budget documents. This is an area where we've actually improved. So the C.D. Howe Institute ranked the City of Regina a B+ for financial transparency in their 2023 report. But we need to add in more public sector accounting standards into our budgetary items. So we're only doing this partially right now. I'd like to see us add comparisons for previous years' projections to add additional transparency and accountability to our budget. Also, I'd like to implement a transparent view into our finances so residents can clearly see and easily access how risk, value, and community benefit are all measured in our decision making.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Bashinsky. To you, Mr. Kardash, you have 1 minute.
Make sure that everyone is in favor of the decisions, completely truthful. If you hide and misform, it leads to a lot more issues. Creating a platform, televised info, social media updates, newspaper article updates, having those talks about what we need and to do to afford and provide the costs, where they come from, showing the taxpayers exactly the breakdown and be divided into and where, when it would be implemented. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kardash. To you, Ms. Fox, 1 minute.
As a manager and director in my past work relationships, I've ongoing, reviewing budgets and priorities, setting priority planning and projecting and reporting and evaluating. I would evaluate the tax dollars where they are utilized and also incorporating using quality assurance for sure. That's a big one in evaluating all our programmings. And so that using our tax dollars are not wasted on plans that are not working and are used on what is working and what is our priority.
Thank you, Ms. Fox. Just to remind our viewers, because we have a lot of candidates, the question was on fiscal responsibility. To our final four, as mayor, how will you and your council ensure transparency in how our dollars are spent? On to you, Mr. Williams, you have 1 minute.
Thank you. I would start with going back to no to the debt ceiling. That dangerous act or path could cripple this city for decades, and I will have no part of that. We have all had to live within our means in this city here, and I expect that City Council and the people that plan our budgets would do the same going forward. I hope that, like the pool, getting back to the pool, it's to me, it's the $84 million increase. That's where we should have stopped. And we never fed no one. We never homed anybody. And I would rather have found ways to help fix our city other ways. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Williams. Mr. Pratt, you have 1 minute.
Thank you. At the heart of transparency is trust. That is trust between the mayor and city council, the mayor and the city manager, and most importantly, between the mayor and the residents of our city. You and I know trust in our city has been eroded. For me, with over 30 years of leadership experience, I understand trust is earned by leading by example. As mayor, I am committed to setting a new standard for transparency. At the end of every month, my meeting calendar and phone logs will be shared with you so you know who I've been talking to, what we talked about. So there are no thoughts about I'm cutting special deals with friends or special interest groups. Attendance records for me and all councillors will be available every month. You need to know who's showing up for you and doing work for you as your representative. And I'll work with council to establish an easy to understand quarterly report on key performance indicators. That's different than a financial statement. We need to understand what are our outcomes and how are we achieving them. Building trust and being open are fundamental to being a mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Pratt. To you, Ms. Brashani, you have 1 minute.
Thank you very much. You know, being on council for the last 8 years really has taught me that we need to engage the public. That means that we have to go out to the public. We've got a finance committee, but people actually don't have a whole lot of time to dig into everything. So actually, I will continue to get out into the community and host on budget, but not just on budget, but on transparency and everything that we're doing. Again, I think we need to be accountable in every dollar that's spent. Example with the pool. The cost went up 50% and no consultation on the increase of the costs when it came up to the $245 million. As your mayor, I will ensure that our financial decisions reflect Regina priorities. Together, we can build a financially stable and prosperous future for our city for today and tomorrow.
Thank you, Ms. Brashani. And to you, Ms. Masters.
Thank you.
1 minute.
As mayor, what I've done so far, some of the things is initiated the hiring of an internal auditor as committed to because we were without one at the city for 22 years. I initiated the formation of a very strong audit and finance committee that resident members partake in. And I've pushed for the production of quarterly financial statements to hold administration accountable to budgets and to allow council to have proper oversight. If re-elected, we're going to continue building upon this work, improving both reporting and readability. We are going to put financial information on the city website in a format that is easy to access and understand, and establish and publish on the city website key performance indicators so that for capital and operational updates. So what does that mean to the taxpayers? That means you'll be able to go to the city website, you're going to see what we committed to doing, what we did, and hold us accountable to that performance.
Thank you, Ms. Masters.
All right, well, Adam Hicks just walked in the building. Subdivision 3, Regina Public School Board. I got it. And he was just picking up his signs. But I'm thinking you have been, you won.
Yeah, I'm so honored to have served the last 8 years on the school board, and I didn't take it for granted. So I've been on a couple thousand doorsteps. I actually talked, I keep a spreadsheet, so 1,200 actual residents or so that I physically spoke to on those doorsteps that were able to open the doors. And it's been a lot of positive things, but this has been, I'd say, the most interesting election out of the past couple that I've been a part of, which is really unfortunate. I think what there's a lot of misinformation out there, and I think we have a lot of work to do to bring this community back together, especially around the school system, and just correct some of that misinformation that's out there right now.
So what are you thinking in the next few years? What are some of your goals when you talk about correcting some of the misinformation?
Oh, I wish when the public gets to meet Mark Harmon, who's our new CEO. He just started in August, and our past CEOs have been great. Mark is just he's just an amazing fellow, and my whole goal has been I wanted to be back on the board to just make sure that there's no barriers in front of Mark as our new CEO, and just take us to another level. And I truly believe we have most people don't know that we have 27,000 students that we are responsible for in the city, and over 3,000 staff. So it's about 13% of this city comes into one of our 58 buildings every single school day. And that's a huge responsibility with a budget of $300 million. And so my goal is to make sure Mark is empowered to lead our entire division, to lead our 3,200 staff, and ensure that everybody has a safe workplace, as a safe place to learn, and is an inclusive, every building you can feel welcome and accepted in one of our buildings.
Would you say there's any difference in Subdivision 3 from any other subdivision in Regina?
Yes, actually. So Harbor Landing, I did a quick video on this on my Facebook. Harbor Landing and Sheldon Williams are two of the most diverse schools in the entire province. Sheldon is supposedly one of the most diverse, most diverse. And what I mean by diverse is, don't quote me on this, but it was about 43 different countries are represented by the newcomers within Sheldon. And there's about 40 different languages that are spoken. So if you walk down the hallways at Sheldon, it truly is a beautiful beautiful, diverse building with a lot of newcomer families, and that comes with some challenges. And I think that's where some of the misinformation that I was hearing about on the doorsteps was maybe just a lot of folks just not knowing how the system works and how the public school system, Regina Public Schools, have always been and will continue being about safe and inclusive schools where we accept every single child, no matter who you are or what your background is, your race or your gender, your sex or your economic background. We accept every single student in Regina Public Schools.
That's awesome. You talked about 8 years. You've been here.
8 years, yes.
8 years.
It flies by. I have my son right here hanging out, and he was a lot smaller 8 years ago.
So over the past 8 years, what would you say is some of your greatest accomplishments in your subdivision?
Oh, transparency was a number one. So I remember my first motion ever submitted back in 2017. It got voted down, and I lost it. And so I worked a year with the other trustees and built some relationships, and then it got approved, which allowed all of our board minutes or our board meetings to be live streamed and recorded. So for the last 6 years or so, we are fully transparent on our meetings. Beyond that, though, I've worked with the city to do the class trip program, which has saved over $100,000 directly for our parents that used to have to pay for buses to go on field trips and things like that. And then the other one is, honestly, the number one accomplishment, I'd say, is bringing Mark into this division. Mark Harmon, our new CEO. Like the board's, one of the main responsibilities of a board is not just to be a cheerleader and to look at the financials and hold the executive accountable, but is to hire a proper CEO, and that I believe we have somebody so strong in that position, and we're ready to. I'm so ready for the next 4 years.
I can see that, Adam. Well, congratulations, and your passion is amazing, and I follow you on Facebook, and so I see you doing so many things in our community, so thank you, congratulations. We'll throw it back to our studio because I think there's way more results coming in.
Thank you so much, Lisa. That was Lisa Peters with Adam Hicks down at Henry Baker Hall at City Hall. We called Adam Hicks's election result in Regina Public School Board Subdivision 3 earlier on tonight as he continues to have a very healthy lead with 18 polls reporting. We're going to run through some of the different results here so far. Chad Baczynski, as you see on your screen, has a healthy lead, 1,300 votes. We're not calling that one yet, though. No, there's a long time to go and a lot of candidates as well. So anything can happen in that race.
Yeah, but he is starting to pull away, I can see, after 18 polls. So we'll see how that race comes about. Let's move on to Ward 1. Where this one is quite close, especially between two candidates, Joanne Crawford and Dan Rashevich. There's right now after 18 polls, there's 50 votes between the two of them. So this is a very close race. Definitely not a winner yet in this one.
Yeah, razor thin in Ward 1. Looking like Ward 2 is going to be one that goes back and forth all night as well. Dr. Chidi Igwe had the lead after 16 polls reporting. Now after 18 polls reporting, that has gone to Andre Magnan. Again, another razor thin race there by 50 votes. You see the incumbent at your bottom of your screen, Bob Hawkins, is in fourth in that race, which to me is quite surprising, again, because Bob had served that riding for so long. But it looking like another tight race in Ward 2.
It does surprise me that Bob Hawkins is as low as he is, because he has been a ward councillor for a number of years now.
But I will say, though, Ward 2 being my ward, full disclosure, Bob Hawkins, if this is a real word, then sure, he was very outsigned. It seemed like every other candidate had way more lawn signs out there, way more signs along the pathways in Harbour Landing. But certainly Bob Hawkins not looking good right now in Ward 2. Of course, more results coming. You see on your screen just 18 of the 43 polls reporting. Moving on to Ward 4. Another close race that we are watching is Ward 4. Glenn Geiger has a slim lead over Mark Burton so far. But again, anybody's race still very early on in Ward 4.
Yeah, this was one of the wards I'm paying attention to, because this was Lori Bresciani's ward. So a lot of candidates vying for this councillor in Ward 4. So we'll see how this progresses.
Switching to Ward 5, again, we'll continue to get polls reporting here, but Sarah Turnbull has the lead over Grant Jakubowski so far. Again, still early, but looking like she's in good shape right now so far.
Yeah, but Ward 5 is my ward, and I will say I have seen a lot of Sarah Turnbull signs in that ward. Again, it's still pretty early to call it. We're still only 18 polls in, but this one's another interesting one. We'll see who comes out on top on this one.
The only ward we've called so far here on Access Now TV is Ward 3. That went to David Froh. Hopefully we hear from David here a little later on in tonight. But switching gears to Ward 6. Looking forward to seeing who's leading this ward, as it's a very competitive ward. 6 people running. There you see Victoria Flores opening up a pretty healthy lead so far in Ward 6.
This doesn't surprise me. Access Communications is not far from this ward, actually, and driving to and from work, I have seen a lot of Flores signs in the neighborhood. So she is, like I said, a very high-profile candidate with her work with the Open Door Society. So we're not going to call it yet, but I think she's starting to pull away from the pack.
Ward 7, earlier on in the night, the incumbent Trina Nelson looked like she was in trouble a little bit, just with the results that we had seen coming in. So hopefully we get the Ward 7. And there you see she's down by about 100 votes so far to Shobna Radins.
Yeah, this one was interesting because during her term on council, Trina had a lot of critics going against her. But she was an advocate for accessibility. But Shobna Radins, who incidentally ran against her in the last election, so right now she's ahead, like you said, by 100. We'll see how this transpires.
On to Ward 8. Shannon Zakidniak, the incumbent, was leading earlier on in the night in Ward 8. Still looks like a good lead there by about 300 or 250 votes or so far. Again, just very early on in this race, though, anything can happen.
Yeah, anything can happen, but Shannon was a very popular ward councillor, and so it doesn't surprise me that she has developed a bit of a lead here. Again, it's still pretty early, but she is sitting rather comfortably at the moment.
Ward 9 was one of those rare wards where the incumbent was running again, and that's Jason Mancinelli. A razor-thin race in Ward 9, just 50 votes separating Jason from Tanis Wilder.
Yeah, it's this does surprise me a little bit. Jason has been on council for 2 terms. He actually succeeded Terry Hinks, who was running in the 2016 election, but unfortunately he passed away during the campaign. So Jason basically got the ward. He succeeded him. So like you said, it's a razor-thin lead right now. So we'll see how this race comes about.
And Ward 10, again, one of those very interesting races so far. Clark Bezzo leading both Jerry Flagel and Chris Simi there you see at the bottom of the screen. But again, this race is one to watch as it's wide open.
It is wide open. I'm quite frankly surprised to see Jerry Flagel in second place, because he's been, when you think of Ward 10, you think of Jerry Flagel because he's been the councillor for a number of years, apart from the last term when he ran for mayor. This might be some change here in Ward 10.
I wanted to ask, before we switch over to another mayoral debate video from, of course, the debate that aired here on Access Now TV, wanted to ask you, Graham, about, the shift we've seen in municipal politics. It's not party style, right? Because obviously that's not allowed in civic politics in Saskatchewan, but definitely party-like. You know what I mean? With, Advocate Regina posting out a bunch of billboards and, posting Mayor Masters and Bob Hawkins and Jason Mancinelli, and one billboard I can think of that was downtown. How much do you think that plays a role this time around? Because we see now those 3 candidates, Mayor Masters not leading in her race, Bob Hawkins not leading in his, and Jason Mancinelli up by a razor's edge.
Well, it was Common Sense Regina that was the one that was yes. The organization that was advocating against those 3 candidates: Sandra Masters, Bob Hawkins, and Jason Mancinelli. It's interesting how Other outside interests have come into this election. Advance Regina, Arcan in the school board, and Common Sense Regina. And any kind of discourse in politics is good, no matter where it comes from. What can be concerning is when that discourse comes from an entity that doesn't have names attached to it. And when those billboards came out, both Senator Masters and Bob Hawkins were very critical of that policy, and actually Bob, when he was interviewed with the CBC, he said that this kind of secrecy. This is a quote from him. This kind of secrecy. This kind of secrecy. It's being shrouded in the shadows. It doesn't permit political debate. It doesn't permit fact checking, and doesn't avoid exaggeration. Now, again, these are words spoken by Bob Hawkins. But it's something that's fairly new to our city, and it's something to pay attention to in elections to come.
We'll continue that conversation in just a moment, but Ward 2 is reportedly not reporting polls accurately at this time. Bob Hawkins is actually leading that race now with 500 and change votes. And so we apologize for that. Hopefully, we're going to get those numbers corrected here shortly.
I am looking at the website right now, and it's still a very close race. He's ahead by about 31 votes right now. So it's still a very, very close race.
Stay with us, folks. It could be a long night here as we cover the Regina municipal election here. We'll switch over to the next debate topic from the Regina mayoral debate, homelessness.
What steps will you take to address and reduce homelessness in Regina? This will go to you, Mr. Sparvier. You have 1 minute.
What I would do to address and reduce homelessness in Regina is I would take a big step back from when it comes to building this aquatic center. And what I would like to see personally is an aquatic center built with a First Nations community center on it. And with this community center built on it, it'd be nice to have a food center on there where we could feed the homeless. It'd be nice to have warming shelters in there. It's not about, we have to make the homeless problem a little bit more visible than what it is, but in a good way at doing it, because if we hide the problem and people don't see it, we're never going to come up to a solution to it. We're always just going to hide the problem. So if we can show it in a good way and do it in a good way, I think more people will be out there and will want to help more with the homeless problem, and it'll become more acceptable, and then therefore we will be able to address the problem more in a good way and help these people get out of the situation that they're in by having the opportunities there for when they're ready to get out of the situation that they're in. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sparvier. Ms. Bushenlonga, you have 1 minute.
Homelessness. So homelessness is kind of like, we have homelessness there by profession, homeless, because they don't want to pay the responsibility to the society. And we have some people that really are homeless. Homelessness is not something is direct to the city of Regina. It's not our job, but it's a more more provincial, more like, it's a kind of like indirect affecting us. So we have to sit down with the province to find a solution about that. Homeless is more like a complicated issue. It's a mental issue, right? People facing challenges, losing their job, losing their house, and they cannot afford to pay the bills, right? We have to be, as a city of Regina, we should be more flexible on more like understanding and accepting someone's
Thank you, Ms.
problem
Bushenlonga.
and help and advocate.
All right,
the
we will
person.
move on to Mr. Bashinsky. You have 1 minute. We are talking homelessness in Regina.
So a fundamental issue to start with is addressing the stigma around homelessness. There are many assumptions made, and the city can leverage its platform to help address this stigma. I will put pressure on the provincial and federal government to adequately fund programs and services to help the people in need. And I'll work with local organizations like Rally for Homelessness and the Regina Street Team to direct funds where they are most effective. The city can help connect services and make navigating an extremely complex system easier and again, meet people where they are and make it easier for them to access the services they need.
Thank you, Mr. Baczynski. To you, Mr. Kardash, you have 1 minute.
Well, I think homelessness is a big priority. It's in every major city. It's a big problem that we have, and we have to address it. My plan is, as mayor, I would put it in the budget to make sure that we have the funds to have homeless shelters and warm-up shelters during the winter months, and work with the Ministry of Social Services and levels of government to make sure that we don't have no more homeless encampments, and to make sure that they actually have a place to stay and not sleeping in 40 below or downtown in our parks, and give them a hot warm meal, and at least that's what they deserve, because homelessness is, everybody should not go without a home, because we see it so much in our streets, right? We see it so much in the news, and that's why we got to address this now, not later. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kardash. To you, Ms. Fox, we are talking homelessness.
About 80% of our Indigenous people are homeless, and I did meet with a group here in the city, and this is my plan as mayor, as one of my priorities, is to find a way to end homelessness. Housing with wraparound supports is greatly needed. However, we need more wraparound resources added to support a housing first model. And it's already getting cold out. It's the end of October, and I see homeless with nowhere to go. And that is my priority, to have like an immediate plan and free access and no applications or wait list. We need shelters that are to help them keep warm. There are empty buildings in Regina. Why can't we use them as shelters? Why can't we can collaborate with our nonprofit groups and even our business sectors and come together with a plan for this. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Fox. Mr. Williams, you have 1 minute.
Well, we have to help the needy. That's a fundamental thing for conservatism. The hows and the whys, or how they have arrived, how it happened to them, that's not for us to judge. It is wrong, because a lot of good people have found themselves homeless or at the food bank. The Eagles Club, to my knowledge, is a good start. The best way to address this, though, going forward, would be jobs, that so many people could get back to work, that could provide themselves shelter too. And as mentioned down here, mental illness perhaps plays a part to it too. So somehow we must find the way to get that addressed, so we could help them look after themselves. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Williams. Mr. Pratt, you have 1 minute.
Thank you. The mayor must champion solutions to homelessness by bringing key partners and stakeholders to the table and ensuring collaboration. This role requires a deep understanding of how community organizations, businesses, and government can work together on this issue. I have led organizations where we ran homeless shelters, low-income housing, supportive housing. I understand that homelessness ends one person at a time, and bad things happen to good people. It happens. So I understand what we're talking about, and I'm familiar with how to find solutions to make this better for Regina. One of the key drivers in this, if we want to reduce episodic homelessness or chronic homelessness and helping individuals transform our community, means it's the economic growth. Our city has got to expand our tax base, which gives us more money to support these complex social issues that matter to us, so we can fix them and end homelessness one person at a time. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Pratt. Ms. Brashani, you have 1 minute.
Thank you very much. Tackling homelessness requires a collaborative effort by all levels of government. And as your next mayor, I will work with community organizations and government agencies to work together to help Regina's most vulnerable. I believe this will allow us to identify the gaps in services and coordinate housing and social supports more efficiently. It's important to remember that it's the federal and provincial government that have the power and funding to address the root causes of homelessness, like mental health and addiction issues. I'll work with the community organizations and the First Nations so that we can advocate with one voice and ensure senior levels of government are meeting their obligation. The government needs to be at the table.
Thank you, Ms. Brashani. Ms. Masters, you have 1 minute.
Thank you. As mayor, our council has advanced initiatives in this particular, to address this particular issue in a way that the city has never done before. So in addition to shelter spaces and supportive housing units and always supporting annually affordable housing, we've supported investing in the YWCA Center for Women and Children. We've entered into a creative initiative for rent-to-own and rent-to-equity programs with an Indigenous housing corporation in order to actually address the issue of housing insecurity. We have built these relationships, and there's been ongoing advocacy with the government. It is why we have complex needs shelter in the city, why we have more mental health and addiction beds. But that's just it. We need a complex, coordinated solution, which we've been working on for a number of years now. We're going to continue to advocate and to create these relationships and to build capacity as it relates to the needs and the wants and the strengths of what exists within our city.
Thank you, Ms. Masters.
All right, we will jump to the public school board subdivision race in just a moment, but first, I believe we're going to be ready to declare Ward 6 in the Regina City Council election.
Yes, front runner Victoria Flores has got a lead of over 700 votes. So I think we can safely declare her the winner in Ward 6. A very high-profile candidate, like I said. This doesn't surprise me. She was very active in her campaigning. So we can now say that Victoria Flores will be councillor for Ward 6.
And again, just half polls reporting, but again, with a lead like that, it's pretty easy to call.
It would be really hard to overcome that.
We'll switch over to the Regina Public School Board elections taking place. Some big leads are opening up. I don't think we're going to declare any quite yet, but again, with almost half the polls reporting so far, it looks like we're going to get to that point here sooner rather than later. Ted Gilletta winning in Subdivision 1 by about 500 votes.
This doesn't surprise me. He was a very popular person. He was very an advocate for sports and also an inductee in the Saskatchewan Sports Hall of Fame. So this doesn't surprise me.
Moving on to Subdivision 2, we see Tracy McMurtry, who we had earlier on in our election coverage here on AccessNow TV. She's opened up a 1,000 vote lead in Subdivision 2.
I think we can perhaps call this one.
Yes.
Yeah, when you at this point you have over 1,000 vote lead, I think we can call this Tracy McMurtry has been re-elected to Subdivision 2.
And of course, a very popular candidate as well in Subdivision 2. Just won the by-election in 2022. Still relatively a fresh face on that public school board, board and doing, great work as we heard on Access TV with Lisa Peters earlier.
Yeah, exactly.
So Tracy McMurtry, we will declare that race for Subdivision 2 on the public school board. Put that yellow check mark beside Tracy's name as we move on to Subdivision 4. And take a look at the three-horse race in that riding. Cindy Anderson up by about 500 votes so far in that race.
Yeah. Earlier there was it was a bit closer, but it looks like Cindy Anderson, the longest-serving member of the public school board, she looks like she has a comfortable lead at this point.
Switching over to Subdivision 5, Lee Harding and Sarah Cummings-Truskowski in that race. Cummings-Truskowski with about an 800 vote lead so far in that race.
Yeah, it's a little closer, but not by much. Cummings-Truskowski has been an advocate for inclusivity and for accessibility, and she's the incumbent. So it's becoming a theme here. All the incumbents so far are leading quite comfortably in the public school division.
And the closest race so far is Subdivision 6, a four-person race in that one. Brandon Shea Mutala up so far, but by just over 100 votes.
Yes. This, like you said, this is the one that's up for grabs. Tara Molson decided not to run again. So Brandon Shea Mutala is the leader at this point. I have a feeling that this will be the last subdivision that we will call a winner. So there's still a lot of votes to count to declare this one.
Subdivision 7, two-person race in that race as well. Lacey Weeks is up by about 800 votes so far. Again, just about half of the polls reporting so far.
Yep. Again, she's the incumbent, and it's been a running theme. All 6 of the incumbents have a healthy lead.
We'll look very briefly to the separate school division race so far. They just take the first 7 elected there. Looking like Ryan Bass is pretty safe here so far.
Yeah, all 6 of the incumbents are top, and the only one that isn't the incumbent is let me take a look here. It's Greg Fisher, and he'll if things stay the way they are, he'll be the newcomer on the separate school board.
Let's switch back to that mayoral race if we could on the graphics, as it's looking like Chad Baczynski is opening up a little bit here. Again, still too close to call with just under half of the polls reporting, but already a pretty sizable lead here so far over Lori Bresciani.
Yeah, it's becoming it's about an 1,800 vote lead right now. This is interesting times for the city for sure.
And again, definitely not a result that either of us were really expecting here, with Chad up this big this early.
Yeah, just talking to people around the city, that we thought that the top 3 would be Senator Masters, Lori Bresciani, and Bill Pratt, but Chad was the 4th one, but we're being proven wrong. Polls before the actual poll don't really matter, and that shows it tonight.
Well, and again, with this being the 3rd election that Saskatchewan people are paying attention to in the last 3 weeks, how true is that, right? I mean, we've seen polls that, believe the provincial NDP were going to win the provincial election, 2 weeks ago. We've seen polls go back and forth south of the border, and now we're seeing it in the municipal level with Chad Baczynski up so big so early.
Yeah, exactly. This is so again, we're not declaring him the winner just yet, but I think we'll see how this transpires.
I remember covering the 2020 municipal election with Mayor Michael Fougere's camp at that time, and in his defeat, in his scrum, media availability, he called that the civic election of change. Do you feel like that's starting to bubble over and become the case in 2024 as well?
Yeah, I think so. I think part of it too is Senator Masters. She worked hard. She worked really hard as mayor. But there were times where some of the decisions that she made rubbed people the wrong way. So there is change afoot here, but there's still lots of election to happen. Change is always good, and in 2020, Regina voted for change. It's possible here that here in 2024, Regina will vote for change again. And keep in mind too, the election in 2020 was a COVID election, so there's a lot of issues at play 4 years ago.
Voter turnout, though, in that election was, still again the topic of discussion, and we've talked about it earlier on here in the night on AccessNow TV. What do you feel goes into such a low voter turnout for, civic elections?
Well, I think it doesn't pertain to this election specifically, but the election in 2020, COVID played a part, obviously. But I think this was the first election in our city where we had 2 elections within 2 weeks of each other, and that has got to be confusing to voters who had to experience this the first time. 4 years later, I don't think that's the case. 4 years later, the elections are close, but people were more ready for this, and candidates were more ready to go out and campaign. Candidates who at the municipal level were more active in their campaigning before the provincial candidates, I found. And to be fair, the municipal candidates had more time to campaign than the provincial ones, technically, because the writ was dropped 13 days before the election. 13 days before the end of the deadline for the provincial election. So there really wasn't much time for the provincial candidates to campaign.
We now have just over half of the polls reporting here so far. There you see on your screen, Chad Baczynski still ahead. Again, still too close to call, but it's getting to be that point, Graham. You know, also wanted to touch on, before we move on, the vocal topics of discussion here in this civic election. How much of a role do you think that had? Because there was no shortage of things to talk about with this civic election, and a lot of issues that people cared about deeply.
Yeah. This council was certainly controversial. There was a lot of criticism lodged against them right from the get-go. I mean, this seems like a lifetime ago, but when they first took office, there was a motion to not have companies that deal with oil and fossil fuels to be displayed on city property, like the benches or the bus stops. That went over like a lead balloon. People were very angry with that. But going forward, there's been other controversial topics as well: homelessness, Riel, housing affordability, zoning changes to accommodate more low-income housing within the core of Regina. So there's been a lot of and not the least of which is also the aquatic center at the end of this term, and also the public library downtown. All these issues played a part in how people viewed this council this term, and so this looks like this is a vote for change.
We'll step aside here for just a second here and move back to the mayoral debate back earlier on. And the next chat that the 9 candidates that took part focused on housing affordability.
Our next question has been recorded in advance by Stu Niebergall of Regina and Region Home Builders Association. Let's have a listen.
Recently, our mayor and city council implemented policy and zoning changes to promote more housing development in our community. If elected, would you support and uphold initiatives that expand housing options, enhance market choice, and improve affordability?
All right, this first question will go to you, Mr. Kardash. You have 1 minute.
To continue with the existing project where the Eagles Club, formerly located as a mayor project, providing ways to collaborate with existing organizations to provide the meals and overnight and figure out ways to placements on a permanent basis can alternative and ensure these hard times. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kardash. To you, Ms. Fox, you have 1 minute.
For housing affordable options, I feel we need really more of that for our people. I met with a group the other night, and they're stating about the housing situation in Regina is the high levels of raising rent, affordable housing, and no housing for people. A lot of talk about that, and concerns, like real issues, concerns. So this is a big one. We need to have more of a housing plan. More housing plan in place. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Fox. To you, Mr. Williams, you have 1 minute.
Thank you. Going forward, Regina, I want Regina citizens to make policy, not Ottawa, regarding city bylaws. I wanted our team, our council, our stakeholders, the citizens of this city and taxpayers that make up the policy. Okay? However, I would work with the government of the day, whoever that is. But it's imperative that Regina Council, the new council, and whoever the mayor is, make that bylaw, to make those rules. The Douglas Park, the 5-story apartment building, we were gifted $35 million. And it's going through, but some people I talk to aren't happy with the location. We don't live in Vancouver, we don't live in Toronto. I was hoping to build out as opposed to up. And yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Williams.
Thank you.
Mr. Pratt, you have 1 minute.
I certainly thank you for the question. I understand that this is a divisive issue at times because in theory we understand the concept of densification. It improves our city. It makes things easier. Can make more vibrant communities. It's good for the environment. The rub comes when the house is going to be built right beside yours. We're at a point now where housing supply matters to our city. We have to figure out how are we going to move through this. I don't think we can send that money back. You know, that's gone. We're going to have to execute and make this happen. And because the residents don't feel like they were part of the process to get here today, we now have to work extra hard to ensure that their citizens are part of the process as we start to execute on this new direction. I mean, supportive house or affordable housing, it matters to our city. Incentives and streamlining the processes for home builders to make it easier and faster for them to build, that's important. We need to build partnerships to maximize our impact and continue to help our city grow to be all that it can be. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Pratt. Ms. Brashani, we are talking housing affordability. You have 1 minute.
Thank you very much. We do know that there is a shortage of affordable housing, so we do have to do our part. We also know that many of the affordable housing has been built around the city. You know, it's time that we have to actually look to go into the city where we have amenities and we have services, close to transit. That's very important. But I also do not believe that we should also be changing a whole neighborhood with a bunch of high density. I think it's a balance. But I think every neighborhood, if it's close to a school or a transit, any kind of vacant land that could be a possibility should be considered. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Brashani. Ms. Masters, you have 1 minute.
Thank you very much. Over the last number of years, we have gone from a 7% vacancy rate in rental units to a 1% vacancy rate. That kind of pressure on multifamily units is extraordinarily difficult for folks, you know, who are sitting on that line of affordability to take. We know that rents have gone up. We still hold the position of one of the most affordable cities in this country, but we need to get more service land into production. Importantly, what the Housing Accelerator Fund initiatives are intended to do is get an additional 1,100 units into market over the next 3 years. Density near transit is important, especially for new Canadians and young people. Access to jobs is vitally important for our economy. I think what's important is that we don't download 100% of city infrastructure onto new home buyers, and that we need to fill the market with some of that missing middle, the duplexes, the triplexes, some of those row housing and that townhouse, anywhere we can put those in infill. In addition, one of the key initiatives has been making money available to revitalize existing housing stock in vacant properties. This will incredibly help our core neighborhoods of Heritage and North Central.
Thank you, Ms. Masters.
Thank you.
All right, we are on to Mr. Sparvier. We're talking housing affordability. 1 minute.
I would like to take an out approach or outside the box thinking when it comes to this question here. The way I look at this is there's a lot of creative ways for housing authority. There's we can have smaller homes in bigger and like with lots and bigger communities and things like that. But the way I want to think outside the box is with this is we have a huge First Nation population in Regina here. A huge First Nations population. And with every Indian having a right to live on reserve, and we already know that the reserve can buy individual lots in the city. So maybe the city needs to work with more reserves to give up land to them. So therefore these reserves can have the ability to build houses on reserve land in the city so they can provide housing for the people that live in the city. Because me being an Indian myself, I have a right to live on the reserve. But because we don't have the space or the housing where we live now, if they had it in the city, maybe we could have our rights fulfilled. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sparvier. Ms. Bushenlonga, you have 1 minute.
I agree with Lori and Sean. There is plenty of land downtown city, and we can just use the land that is existing there. And some of the places are very for example, some slum land owners taking advantage of this particular land that could be developed, and we need housing, affordable houses downtown in Regina. 100% agree with Lori. Let's just applause it. And so people like myself as a newcomer have access to jobs and have access to all the services of our city. Another definitely we don't need another farmland being destroyed for expansion. We need the farmland as a farmland. That's what it is. And I agree with Sean as well. A lot of we still have the land that owned by the Indian culture. We can cooperate with the culture and build the housing.
All right, we will move on to Mr. Bashinsky. Housing affordability, you have 1 minute.
I absolutely support in expanding and upholding different housing options. I think we need to look at more creative options for affordable housing for sure. And a big part of that is intensification. I fully support looking at intensification specifically in our downtown area. It helps in a lot of ways. It's a math problem to me. It provides more people using less lengths of roads, less lengths of pipe, and shorter transit commutes. So overall, there's an overall benefit, and it actually reduces the tax burden on those folks living in the suburban areas.
All right, thank you, Mr. Bashinsky.
All right, well, it looks like we've tracked down David Froh. We can find you anywhere, David. David and I go way back. He's been on Talk of the Town many times as VP of the Regina Food Bank and as well former VP Economic Development Regina. So a great leader. David, you are in the lead. How are you feeling right now?
Well, we're in the heart of Ward 3 in Paolo Bowen's Brewery in Regina, and we have a packed house. I've come to the lobby, Lisa, so that you can hear me. It's an incredible privilege and honestly a really humbling honor to be supported by your neighbors. I think I knocked on over 6,000 doors. And Ward 3, when you think of Lakeview and Cathedral and the Crescents and Albert Park and the downtown, these are really engaged people. These are people that care about our community, that understand Regina is a great place, and despite its challenges, that it's worth caring for, and they're filled with ideas. And so I count myself incredibly privileged. I've coached and volunteered, and I know many of these families, and it's a really surreal experience, Lisa, but it's an awesome night to be surrounded by friends and family, and some candidates are rolling in here too. And so it's I'm really grateful. Last time you and I talked, I covered this election as a guest on your show when I was at Economic Development Regina, and today I count myself very fortunate and very humbled to be a candidate.
All right. Well, again, David, you're doing wonderful in the race so far. Now, I know you have a lot of leadership experience, but I want to hear a little bit about your campaign experience. How was it, and what did you learn out there?
The great thing about municipal politics, Lisa, is that there are not political parties. And we got to keep it that way. There's been a lot of third-party interest groups trying to affect our local democracy, policy at the city level. And, if you and I hypothetically disagree on 6 out of 10 things, then we work on the 4. And by working on the 4, we learn to work on the 6. And people have great values in Regina. And so, most politics is local in the end, right? Important decisions happen at the local level. A lot of us watched what happened in the United States last week with a lot of disappointment. But it's a great reminder that you can lean in your own community, in your own city and province and country. And for me, it's been a wonderful experience connecting with the folks in Lakeview and across the city. And so I count myself really privileged, but also it's a lot of fun, to be honest, right? People are great at the doorstep. They want to talk about ideas, and they don't really buy into the idea that we're separated and divided. There's been a lot of negativity in our community. And if I've learned anything, door knocking, so delete the social media accounts that tell you Regina is a bad place and do what you can. Shovel your neighbor's sidewalk, coach, volunteer, vote. The lineups around Lakeview School and Argyle were huge, but isn't that a great thing? If we had to stand outside in the cold for an hour, it took a long time. We had chats with our neighbors and people care. And so I hope people leave this election, whomever they voted for, and realize that Regina is a good place. We just got to put in the work.
Yeah, I know you, David, and I know you did an amazing job, and that people want to talk to you. So I'm excited about you being the representative in Ward 3. Tell me a little bit about your plans. Do you have any big plans? Do you have any ideas over the next few years, next 30 days? What are you going to do?
I can't wait to meet who my new colleagues are and to meet them with good faith. I feel I am uniquely prepared to hit the ground running. I understand how City Council works, given my time at Economic Development Regina, but I'm going to build relationships with the city. I think a lot of people told us they looked at City Council and they wanted, a little more decorum and a little more professionalism. Lisa, I think we got to get the Aquatic Center built. I think we could be fiscally responsible and at the same time invest in the community that we want. And if you don't invest in the community that you want, pretty soon it becomes an unlivable community. And so I look forward to seeing that aquatic center built. I look forward to continuing and accelerating how we treat with dignity, our most vulnerable as it relates to the unhoused. And I do have an economic development background. Cities have a role as it relates to being a great place to live for talent, but also how we support industry. And so, for me, I look forward to hitting the ground running. But I would say day one, I'm looking forward to get to know my colleagues. There's going to be a very material change at City Council. And I think I would also like to take a second to say that if you ran today in any of our 10 wards or for mayor, whether you're successful or not, Regina's a better place because you put your name forward. And it's okay if we disagree. I hope voter turnout was up today, but I hope that, whoever's listening today, text your candidate, whether they won or lost. If you bump into them in the street 2 months from now, trust me, they put in a lot of work and their families put in a lot of time, and that's how democracy works. And so I'm looking forward to meeting my colleagues. That's my priority. And I guess if I could say anything before we close, it would be just thanks for everyone, whether you volunteered, whether you put up a sign, and if you're a candidate, thanks for participating.
Oh, David, you are always an amazing interview. I want to thank you for just taking your time out of your election party, which is just really a time to celebrate your success of a great campaign. So I'm going to let you get back there, and you're still in the lead, and I look forward to a future with David Froh in it. Thanks, David.
Hey, thanks, Lisa. All right, see you at Pile of Bones tonight if you're watching.
All right, Pile of Bones, there we go. Well, let's get back to the studio.
Well, they are having a lot of fun at Pile of Bones right now. I think he's having the wildest party at the moment.
And according to Regina Pats on AccessNow TV, Pile of Bones does have the best white IPA in Saskatchewan. So, just sponsor plug, if you will.
Yeah, and I'm sure a lot of them are being served at the moment.
That's David Froh, the councillor-elect in Ward 3. Of course, we're calling that race in Ward 3. And very, very early on, we made that call. You see the polls are reporting just over half so far here in Regina. And we're starting to, see those votes and those polls getting counted and trickling in slowly. But,
yeah.
It has been a bit of a halt so far here, Graham.
Yeah.
Polls closed about almost 2 hours ago.
Yeah, we're at a bit of a standstill, but I'm sure those working behind the scenes are going to get the poll numbers to us very quickly. Before we go on, I do want to go back to Ward 1, where initially we said that Dan Rasevich was in the lead. That has now changed. Joanne Crawford is now leading by 50 votes. Again, still very close, too close to call at this moment. So that ward might take a while to decide who's going to be the ward councillor.
9 wards so far in Regina are very close.
Yes.
Right. It gets too close to call across. I guess 8 actually, because we did call Victoria Flores earlier on tonight in Ward 6. But 8 wards so far in Regina. It's still too close to call. There you see the mayoral race here in Regina. Chad Baczynski still up big so far. We're not calling that one yet, but we're getting ready to.
I think so. And as if things stay the way they are right now in terms of leads, we have the potential of having 7 new members on council. That's unheard of in a long time. I don't know if that's ever happened where we've had such a clean sweep of members of council.
And we talked about it a little bit earlier on. 2020, Michael Fougere called it the election of change. 2024 could be the sequel.
Change 2.0 or something like
Yes.
that. Yeah. Or the election of reaction. And I think 2020 was the election of action, and this is the election of reaction. So, but that's just my thought. But we'll see how the night progresses still.
While we wait for more polls to start reporting here on Access Now TV's Decision 2024, the Regina vote coverage here on Access Now TV, we'll throw it back to one more time to the Regina mayoral debate that took place here on Access Now TV. The next conversation that took place among the candidates was all about infrastructure.
We are talking infrastructure. Construction is needed to repair and improve our city's aging infrastructure. Explain how you will ensure the future construction is coordinated with all departments to ensure maximum efficiency on human and fiscal resources. The question will go to you, Mr. Baczynski. You have 1 minute.
Thank you. So this is my background. This is my expertise that I will bring to the city. Managing major infrastructure projects, specifically around critical infrastructure, this is what I know. This can be done better. I can tell just looking at the city and the frustrations that I hear from residents and how they perceive a lot of the work that's going on around the city. We need to look at the processes. We need to improve the processes. We need to look at policies that govern how administration is able to execute construction projects. We need to look at our procurement practices as well to make sure that we're offering flexible timeframes. So what I will bring forward is to investigate 24-hour construction, to investigate extended construction hours, to make sure that we don't have 2 seasons in winter and construction season.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Baczynski. To you, Mr. Kardash, you have 1 minute.
Well, construction is one of the biggest issues that we'll have to fix in our broken city. Well, how will I make sure that construction is the future and coordinated with all departments and maximum efficiency on human and fiscal resources? Looking for local Saskatchewan companies that will be willing to sign a contract with our city for long term. It would be the only benefit for our city's resources and our pockets that comes out of the taxpayers' pockets. It will be fiscal resource, paving roads, major roads, as well as small residential roads that haven't seen improvement in the past 10 years. Maintain weight restriction towards residential roads to alleviate the distress with having roads having huge ruts and weights of semi-trucks. Human resources would include, like I said before, local companies.
Thank you, Mr. Kardash.
Thank you.
All right, Ms. Fox, you have 1 minute.
In my talking with groups of people during this campaign that I've been on, that is a big issue right now, is infrastructure and improving it. Our streets of Regina, even garbage disposal, the waste of concrete too is a big one. Our weather plays a huge factor in infrastructure of our streets. I would ensure that we find efficiency for all and have experts in our operations so that our fiscal resources that are spent are not spent on the same street or the same ring road area after each winter. The experts will find the quality materials to use for streets and roads, which is a big one that has been come up. Our people of Regina are tired of the long construction delays. It causes hardship on their lives, late for work, school, picking up their children, and daycare and medical appointments. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Fox. To you, Mr. Williams, you have 1 minute.
Thank you. First off, we have great city workers. They are spread thin. I believe it's a priority problem and they need better direction. It's not a worker problem. Water coming up for 3 or 4 weeks in several areas of the town is unacceptable. We have to fix that and fix it now. It is one of our best resources, water, as you know. And I think that's the most imperative thing. We cannot afford to have anybody fall, especially our seniors, break a hip. Our infrastructure is a priority when I become mayor. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Williams. We're talking infrastructure. Mr. Pratt, you have 1 minute.
Thank you. This is not a new issue for city councils. This has been going on for a long time, frustrating residents, and even those who came on the council just before us were unable to resolve. So you got to ask, why are we still talking about this issue? Well, the mayor of Regina must build a positive, transparent relationship with the city administration through the city manager. It's up to the mayor and council to clearly communicate the expectations to administrations. Citizens understand temporary disruptions. What they don't appreciate is when projects are poorly coordinated. With my experience as a board member and a CEO, I'll make it a top priority to establish a strong, transparent working relationship with the city manager. When this relationship is solid, we can then begin to address the issues that are affecting our coordinated traffic issues and reduce the frustration for our citizens. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Pratt. To you, Ms. Brashani, you have 1 minute.
Thank you. As your mayor, I will ensure that the city departments do not work in silos. Instead, working together, including planning, public works, utilities, transportation, and finance, to actually develop a coordinated master plan to minimize disruptions, reduce the costs, and maximize resources efficiency, including utilizing best practices and alternative ways to deliver projects. Example of this was when the city relined the pipes versus replacing, which saved $21 million to the taxpayers. Coordinated efforts should also include our business community and the taxpayers. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Brashani. To you, Ms. Masters, you have 1 minute.
Let me start by saying thank you to the residents of Regina for your patience. You have likely experienced that we have invested more in streets, roads, sidewalks, and pathways than ever before. And there's not much pleasant about construction zones other than the finished project, which makes a better city to live and to do business. As mayor, we've begun this integrated work. Over the last 2 years, we have, as I stated earlier, began integrating road work and water work at the same time, ensuring that we're not ripping your streets up twice. We are, what I will do, we're replacing underground infrastructure in coordination with lead pipe replacement and targeting those pipes that break the most, reducing water wastage. What I'll do if re-elected is to maximize the construction time where applicable and where we can, and to collaborate with industry to gain efficiencies when contracting on major projects. We'll extend coordinated planning across all projects, big and small, and ensure that we continue planning and sequencing infrastructure improvements in a transparent way.
Thank you, Ms. Masters. To you, Mr. Sparvier, we're talking infrastructure. You have 1 minute.
Well, all these people had such good answers, they basically took a lot of mine already. So basically what I would do is I'd make sure that we would streamline processes so that way things would be cheaper in the long run. I would also clearly communicate infrastructure plans with the community and with people like that, so therefore we could have public forums and consultation so we keep the people informed with what's going on in their area and things like that. And basically just keeping everybody informed and working with everybody and keeping all the departments informed with what's going on and working with everybody together. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sparvier. To you, Ms. Bushenlonga, you have 1 minute.
Well, infrastructure is very, very important for everyone's life every day, right? When you want to go to work and, you want to have the quality of asphalt, the basic ones, right? When you go visit your grandma and the road is like bumping around, you can't. I mean, you have an issue. So infrastructure is really, really very important in our city, and for the residents, and our taxes obviously will show that we have done really something very good and quality work for the residents. So I will add a little bit more to the infrastructure project. I will add metro, or I will add something that is more convenient for the everyday life of the people, and I will probably make sure that the city manager is fired if he doesn't do the job right. That's it.
Right. Thank you, Ms. Bushenlonga.
Breaking news here on Decision 2024 on AccessNow TV. We will officially call the mayoral race. It's looking like a healthy lead here so far for Chad Baczynski to become the next mayor of the city of Regina with over 2,000 votes in the lead over second place Lori Bresciani with over half of the polls reporting. Graham, I did not expect this.
I didn't expect this either. I thought this was going to be a three-horse race, and Chad was the dark horse apparently. So congratulations to Chad. Stranger things have happened, but as it stands right now, he's got an over 2,000 vote lead. I think it's safe to say he will be our next mayor.
And we mentioned the three-horse race earlier on. It was supposed to be Sandra, Lori, Bill. But Chad, the wild card, comes out of nowhere, and, we will declare him new mayor of Regina here tonight. What do you make of that, right? The ability for Chad to, come out of nowhere and, become the mayor.
Well, I think part of it is cynicism, and there has been a lot for people to possibly be cynical about in Regina civic politics, rightly or wrongly. It's there. Chad comes in, and of all the candidates, of most of the candidates, he is one of the most positive. He ran a very positive campaign, didn't get into the mudslinging, and I think voters saw that and responded appropriately.
We just saw the last video from the Regina mayoral debate that aired here on AccessNow TV talking about infrastructure, and I wanted to point out one of Baczynski's promises during that debate of focusing on a 24-hour construction schedule. Do you feel that helped him win this race or even led to him directly winning?
Yeah, I think that does play a part for sure, and it's been a long-standing issue amongst Regina residents where there's been construction going on, and then all of a sudden at 5 o'clock it ends. Now, in other communities, the 24-hour construction clock has been a thing. Edmonton, Winnipeg, and Calgary. It's possible here in Regina. There's a lot of work ahead of them to make sure that happens, but it is possible.
We do have Lisa Peters down at City Hall. Just looking to connect with one of the candidates in Ward 1, but we'll just hang tight there before we throw to Lisa, as we understand we lost Dan Rashovich on the Zoom call. We'll just quickly run through the ward races as well. Ward 1, again, one of those wards that we are looking at very closely, separated by only about 10 votes.
Well, actually, that's changed now. There's now 33 polls reporting. That's probably just happened, where Dan Rasovich has now opened up about a 180 vote lead. Again, still very close, but right now he's leading over Joanne Crawford and the other two candidates.
And there you see on the mayoral chair, it looking like even a healthier lead for Chad Baczynski, 3,000 vote lead so far on the mayoral race. So safely put that one to bed, send it off as we look again at Ward 1. Looking at Ward 2, again, another race that's very close.
Oh, is it ever close? A 9-vote lead for George Siklis. It looks like we're going to be going back to Lisa Peters. We might have gone back to Lisa Peters. Let me just check with our guys in the truck there.
Yeah, we'll send it to City Hall and chat with Lisa Peters.
All right, well, I'm here, and I can see that Dan Rasovich has joined me. I can find anyone. I found you, Dan. I hear you're at home, just soaking in the election results.
Yeah, just actually hanging out here with my family and my in-laws. And my dog, and I'm in my sweats, relax.
Well, I think I just heard you have a 150 vote lead, but it really is going back and forth. Every time I turn around to look at the results, I don't know what's going to happen. How are you feeling?
It's a weird feeling. That's all I can say. Like, this is it's a kind of a weird feeling, just kind of waiting and seeing what's going to happen, and, sort of seeing, I don't know. I wish I would have. Hey, I wish I had more time to knock on doors.
Yeah. How would you, if you had to describe your campaign experience? Because I know you were out there. I know you were knocking on doors. What did you think of the experience?
It was a great experience. I loved it. You know what? Got to talk to so many people. And I mean, talk about the city. Actually, it was always talking about the city, but also just talking about, hey, when I played for the Riders type thing, you know what? It's still kind of cool, you know what I mean? So, but still, people have lots of opinions on things that we would like to get done, and it was a fabulous experience. Win or lose, you know what? And that's what I told myself. Yeah.
Yeah, I would agree. I've been part of the election process, and win or lose, the people you meet, the stories you get to hear, the doors that open for you is just an amazing experience. That's because we're from Regina. Dan, any big plans? If you do take the lead, what are some of your goals? What are you hearing out there?
Well, the big thing, I mean, two kind of big concerns were obviously infrastructure, and always it's a big one, and then the next big one was that acceleration housing fund that we accepted from the federal government, and people in our communities are kind of a little worried, about 4 and 6 plexes. And again, hey, I've talked to some of the organizations, like, hey, can't we just walk before we run? And maybe there's other places we can use that acceleration fund money too. So, yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, I know that your experience as one of our beloved Saskatchewan Roughriders is going to bring you a lot of teamwork. If you do take this election. Thank you for just answering my call today and joining us. We really appreciate it, Dan.
Oh, always, Lisa. It's always good to talk to you.
All right. Well, maybe I'll see you for coffee on Saturday.
Hey, looking forward to it, Lisa. Bye.
Right. All right.
Okay.
All right.
Bye.
Well, that's Dan. All right. See you, Dan.
Okay.
Well, that is Dan Rasevich, and he is leading in Ward 1 as I turn around because it keeps changing. But I'm going to throw it back to you guys, and you probably have some more results to report.
Yes, absolutely, Lisa. Ward 1 still too close to call. Ward 2, same.
It's even closer, yeah.
Even closer, absolutely. Wanted to look at Ward 4, of course. We're not sure if those numbers are 100% correct with Ward 4, but Ward 5, again, very close race in Ward 5 with Sarah Turnbull in the lead so far.
Yeah, it looks like she's pulling away here. I think we might be close. Not yet, but I think we're getting close to calling this one.
We already declared Ward 6. That's Victoria Flores. She'll be the councillor-elect for Ward 6. On to Ward 7. Looking like a close race where Trina Nelson was in a bit of a difficult situation earlier on in the night. Still very close in Ward 7, but Trina's down by about 100 votes.
Yeah, it looks like Shobna is starting to pull away. Again, it's still too close to call.
On to Ward 8, as it looked like Shannon Zakidniak, who was elected back in 2020, has opened up a 400-vote lead. I don't feel confident calling that one yet. It seems still pretty close.
It's still close, but I think once the next ballots come in, I think we're close to calling Shannon Zakidniak as re-elected in Ward 8.
Certainly closer to calling Ward 8 than we are in other regions of Regina so far. On to Ward number 9. This was one that we're looking at closely. Is Jason Mancinelli up by just 21 votes so far?
21 votes. Yeah, it's a very close race in this one, and we'll see how this goes.
On to Ward 10, another close race in Ward 10, but Clark Bezzo is up over Jerry Flagel by just under 200 votes.
Yep, it looks like Clark is pulling away. So so again, we're getting close to calling that one for sure.
We'll quickly sneak over to the Regina Public School Board subdivision race so far. Want to jump to subdivision 7 first. We are ready to call that race as complete. Lacey Weeks up big in subdivision 7, so we will call that race here on AccessNow TV.
I believe so. Yeah. No, the lead is just too great. It's almost $1,000 vote lead, not dollars, votes. So Lacey Weeks will get re-elected in subdivision 7.
We'll cycle back to subdivision 1, where it looks like Ted Gilletta still up large, about 800, 700 votes.
I think
for
we can
Ted
call
Gilletta.
this one. Yeah,
we will call Ted Gilletta Subdivision 1 Public School Board winner for Subdivision 1.
Yep. Again, very popular school board trustee, and not a big surprise.
On to Subdivision 2. We already declared that one. Tracy McMurtry earlier on in the night. That lead continues to grow. We move on to Subdivision 3. Subdivision 3 already called Adam Hicks. That was our first one that we called here earlier this evening on AccessNow TV. Subdivision 4, Cindy Anderson, the incumbent, longest serving subdivision representative, looking like she's pulling away as well.
I think we can safely call this one as well. I think Cindy has got such a large enough lead at this late stage when there's only 10 polls remaining that we can safely say that she's been re-elected.
And with that, we move on to Subdivision 5, a two-person race in Subdivision 5, and it looks like too big of a lead for Lee Harding to overcome, so we can safely declare Subdivision 5.
Yep, Sarah Cummings-Truskowski, another incumbent winning on the public school board.
The race that would be too close to call possibly in the public school board race, Subdivision 6, as it looks like there's 4 people running in that race. Votes, about 200 votes separating Brandon Shea Mutala and Douglas Armbruster. Again, we'll wait and see on this one, but Brandon's starting to pull away here.
He is pulling away, so I think we won't declare it at this time, but I think we're close. We're close.
And on to the separate school board quickly. Looking like we have not a firm picture of what the separate school board will look like, but we're getting closer. It's looking like more and more seats are getting filled.
Yeah. I think we're pretty close to declaring all the incumbents are going to get reelected, and then the newcomer Greg Fisher, he's well in the mix there. So I think it's pretty. There isn't going to be much change on that separate school board.
We'll cycle it back up to Ward 1, where Dan Rastovich does have a lead in Ward 1, and looking like it is growing with more polls reporting so far. 33 of the 43 reporting so far in Regina, and we'll keep a close eye on that race. That likely would be our next race that we could potentially call.
One of them, yeah, for sure. The race has been pretty close, but I think he's starting to pull away at this point.
And if you missed it earlier on, we did declare the mayoral race complete on AccessNow TV. Chad Baczynski winning the mayor's seat here in Regina, the wild card, if you will, in what was going to be a 3-person race with, of course, 11 people on the ticket. Anything can happen, of course, here in Regina civic politics.
Yeah, but I think he's the first to break the 5-digit point now with over 12,000 votes. So I think with him now 3,000 votes ahead of Lori Bresciani, I think we have ourselves a new mayor.
While Lisa Peters was chatting with Dan Rastovich, I received a text from someone that said that Chad has a big city focus. How important do you think that is, as mayor of Regina?
I think it is very important. As a big city focus means a lot of things need to be upgraded, and we have to be prepared for a larger population, which means infrastructure changes like the aquatic center, like the downtown library, like the baseball stadium, and like potentially for a downtown arena, and also like for what's been happening already, like the when you're going along North Ring Road, you're seeing all the construction of the water pipes. That's preparation for a larger population, and so a mayor that has a large city mentality fits with what's happening right now.
And the canola crush facilities as well being built on the outskirts of town, and it's all in preparation of what could become for Regina here in the next 4 or even closer to sooner.
Yeah, for sure. And the other issues too are very, very top of mind as well. The homelessness issue is a big city problem, not just in Regina, but all across Canada and the United States. The opiate addiction issue, again, a big city problem. And so the affordable housing, again, is another one. These issues are big city issues that need big city solutions, and so we'll see what Chad has in store, and the new council that's going with him.
The polls officially closed 2 hours ago, and we are still waiting for results from a few of the wards here so far. Let's start back again to that mayoral debate held here on AccessNow TV. The next topic of discussion, public safety.
We're going to talk about public safety. What are your plans to improve public safety in our community? This question will go first to Bevan Fox.
For public safety, I would meet with groups, individual groups, the Regina Police and review what's been done. Is there a plan for public safety with City of Regina and what has been working so far, and what can we do as you know, as a people, as all the residents in Regina? And there's many groups that are concerned about public safety, and that's what I would do first is meet with them.
Thank you, Ms. Fox. We will move to you, Mr. Williams. You have 1 minute.
Thank you. Public safety, well, this city is good, and earlier tonight about this is the worst place to be, the comment you said, I have to disagree. I'm here because I like the city, and a lot of people have invested their time and energy in it to make it better, and I'm here to build on that, okay? One thing, we got caught up in maybe stuff worrying about plastic straws and paper bags, but we should have been worried about fentanyl coming into our city. We have human trafficking issues. The gangs, well, I'm not up to date with that, but if the stakeholders, the police, the people on the ground, I would like to talk to them and see what's best needed. And that's where I plan on, I would build bridges for them and start with, like I said, go back to downtown. It needs to be more popular, more talked about in a good way. Like, I'm tired of the negativity.
Thank you, Mr. Williams. Thank you. To you, Mr. Pratt, we are talking public safety. 1 minute.
Thank you. Public safety is a major concern for many citizens and businesses. No one wants to be unsafe, and no one should be. There is no single solution. It will take multiple approaches within a larger strategy, and it's more than just enforcing the law. We need to examine the spectrum of public safety from root causes to addressing issues of addiction and mental health. With my extensive experience engaging diverse stakeholders, community members, government, unions, businesses, faith groups, nonprofits, I am dedicated to bringing our community together to find solutions. This means uniting those with innovative ideas, the skills needed to contribute, the financial resources to drive solutions, those with lived experience to ensure practical, compassionate approaches to solve this issue that matters so much to the people of our city. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Pratt. Ms. Brashani, you have 1 minute.
Thank you very much. Everyone deserves to live in a safe city. As your next mayor and currently the chair of the Board of Police, I understand how important safety is. And the Regina Police Service has greatly improved its capacity to vulnerable people in crisis. Proactive solutions like the alternative response officers, the program to increase the presence of public safety officers downtown is going to be a game changer. It's a compassionate policing service. And Regina Police are going to be working closely with community associations in all neighborhoods on how to be more proactive on crime reduction. And I will continue to advocate for provincial and federal funding to help cover the costs of the public safety initiatives that are not crime related, reducing the financial burden on local taxpayers. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Brashani. To you, Ms. Masters, you have 1 minute.
Thank you. I have supported, as mayor, I have supported the hiring of 46 police officers and 8 alternate response officers to do some major catch-up from 8 years of under-resourcing our police. We saw about $3.8 million announced from the province recently for more frontline police officers, and that's going to mean expanded police presence across the city. I think we've advocated for expansion to the police and crisis team, the PAC team, having more coverage where we have social workers out with police to deal with crisis in mental health. It was actually Councillor Bresciani and myself who advocated to the province to get sworn peace officers in hospitals so that our police officers, our patrol officers could transfer custody, and we have saved about 1,000 hours of patrol time, again, meaning we've got more boots on the ground. If re-elected, we're going to continue to support police and fire and make sure they're appropriately resourced. I'm going to support RPS in setting up neighborhood watch programs across the city and continue investing in things like downtown lighting, because safety just isn't about police and fire and emergency services.
Thank you, Ms. Masters. All right, to you, Mr. Sparvier, we are talking public safety. You have 1 minute.
Well, I'd like to take a different approach at this. What I'd like to do is public safety is a huge issue, and there's technology out there that we're not utilizing yet in terms of artificial intelligence. We could put cameras up around the city that have artificial intelligence hooks up to them. So therefore, my cameras at home on my house have facial recognition on them. So there is technology out there that we could have and utilize for dangerous areas and areas of the city that aren't safe. And where I want to think outside the box is, I like lawyers where they said they hired special constables. I applied for one of those special constable jobs. I didn't get it. So what I would like to propose is you have to get down to that level of fighting crime in order to know what it really is, and get down to that level of public safety to know what it really is. And I think being young and fit and energetic as I am, the mayor should be able to hold the title of a special constable if he can pass all the requirements. So that way he can walk the beat, he can walk downtown, he can talk to business owners and find out really what's going on, and he can get down to that individual level. So therefore he can come up and formulate his own plans along with the plans of other people that are actually doing this and come up with a good way to move forward.
Thank you, Mr. Sparvier. To you, Ms. Bushenlonga, you have 1 minute.
Thank you. Thank you for the question. It's very important. As a businesswoman downtown, actually, I was attacked, pepper sprayed. Sometimes I go volunteer back alley with my husband and my family. People who have they forgot the calendar day for the brown bean or the blue bean, and I was attacked with pepper sprayed by 2 criminals. We took a video. We had a video, and they've never been prosecuted from the Regina police. Number one. Number two, one of my other neighbors, he's an elderly man, 71 years old. He was brutally attacked as well. There's nothing because there's no results after when he reported that crime and never got an answer back. So the problem is we need judge. His specialty is in narcotics, and we need to soften up the crime. I live in downtown. I own properties in downtown. I have invested my life in downtown, and I'm not negative at all.
All right, we will move on to Mr. Bashinsky. You have 1 minute. We are talking public safety.
I have also heard stories of people being chased downtown, stories of being scared to run around Wascana Park anymore. It's important that we invest in the reactive police and fire areas to make sure that we have the proper resources to tackle those things. We also need to invest in the proactive elements as well. We need to work with community partners. We need to work with people and services that help people with mental illnesses and addictions. We need to make sure we're pairing that with our police services, because we can't expand our police scope. They need to be focused on their expertise, and we need to help pair that. And working with our provincial partners, we need to do a better job of helping address some of those issues. And also finding ways to meet people where they are. I've heard a lot of criticism around the access to services and how easy that is. We need to make it easier for people to access the services they need.
Thank you, Mr. Bashinsky. And to you, Mr. Kardash, public safety. You have 1 minute.
Having those special officers already in place help the safety downtown, other high crime areas, deflect those crimes from escalating, providing the support, critical moments of their lives, crime rate and decreased, and have more available organizations. Could partner up with those making temporary homes who live in the streets from our Saskatchewan winter months, implement a pod system and body cameras that has been proven to help police and other departments to provide the quickest response in situation or crisis. Footage will also cover persons involved, become evidence in any case against or the officers. Community watch, huge back then. It needs to come back. We are lacking in making our community safe from strangers' homes. And typically the best option, phones weren't accessible. Being the most...
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
We will declare one more race here so far. Ward 8, looking like Shannon Zakidniak, going to pull away and take this one with 38 polls reporting now.
Yeah, it was a bit close there for a while there, but now she's pulled ahead with over 400 votes. I think at this late stage, with only 8 polls left to report, we can safely say that she's been re-elected in Ward 8.
And so the first incumbent elected so far here in this 2024 decision here on AccessNow TV. We will declare Shannon Zakidniak the winner. We are trying to get a hold of her, see if she can join via Zoom with Lisa Peters down at City Hall. But again, just the one so far. Again, race is too close to call in Wards 2, in Wards 9, and Ward 7.
That's right. Yeah. Well, yeah. Just looking at Ward 9 right now, Jason Mancinelli is in the lead, but just by 21 votes. So this is very close. This is very close. So, and then looking at the other wards, Ward 7, Shobna Radens is looking like she's starting to pull away. We're close, I think, to calling her the winner, but we'll wait for more results to come in. But at this stage, it looks like incumbent Trina Nelson is not going to be councillor in this next term.
George Zaklis, you just saw the graphic up there for Ward 2, looking like he has a 100-vote lead in a race we've watched all night long here, Graham.
Mm-hmm. Yes, and that one's been going back and forth as well, and it's still too close to call. There's 47 votes in difference between the two of them, so it still could go either way. But at this point, like you said, there's only one incumbent that we can safely say is going to be on the next council.
I want to look back at Ward 4. That's a race we haven't really focused on very much recently, but more polls are starting to get reported here for Ward 4. Looking like Mark Burton's opening up a little bit of a lead here with 5 polls remaining.
Yeah, it looks like he's ahead by over 200 votes. So we're close to calling Mark Burton the councillor-elect for Ward 4.
And we will shift back there to Ward 7 that you mentioned was, again, becoming a bit of a runaway so far here for Shobna Radens. And again, another incumbent that could be in trouble here.
Yeah. And this was going to be a tight race in any event. Trina and Shobna were it was a tight race 4 years ago. It's a tight race again this year. So we'll see what the next 5 polls tell us.
Ward 10, wanted to take a look at Ward 10 just to kind of see what's taking place there. And Clark Bezzo with a less than 200 vote lead over Jerry Flagel. But again, 5 polls remaining. How close are we to calling this one?
I think the next batch of polls we should be able to call it. But yeah, like you said, Clark Bezzo is pulling away. It is a bit of a surprise to see Jerry Flagel second in a ward that he basically owned since 2003.
And only one race we're really watching here on the public school division side is Subdivision 6, where Brandon Shea Mutala has a over 200 vote lead so far in Subdivision 6.
Yeah, again, we're close to calling this one as well, but we'll wait for the next batch of results to come in.
On the separate school board side, how close are we to declaring the 7 there?
I think we can declare. I think we can declare all 7. The one that's 8th right now is Melanie Mackay, who is about over 600 votes below Darren Wilcox, who is right now 7th. So I think we can declare that all 7 of the names you see on the screen there are going to be the members of the separate school board. Again, 6 of those 7 are incumbents, apart from Greg Fisher, who's the newcomer. But it's going to be pretty safe. It's pretty safe to say it's going to be not much change on that board.
While we wait for Shannon Zakidniak to connect with Lisa Peters down at City Hall, I wanted to ask you, Graham, with City Council changing so much so far in this election, again, just the one incumbent so far, still early, but a lot staying the same on the school board side. Have you noticed that, and what do you think plays into that?
I think just comfort for who has been representing them for the last term. On school boards, change doesn't come very quickly. So I think a lot of the trustees are public figures that have proven to their electorate that they're worthy of another term, and we're seeing that today in both the private and separate school divisions.
And Subdivision 3 was the first race we called this evening too. I mean, yeah. Adam Hicks was well ahead, and it was not close.
No, it was not close, and it never was going to be close. And nothing against his competitor, but he's such a force to be reckoned with in subdivision 3 that he's such a public figure that it was basically going to happen no matter what.
Let's send it down to Lisa Peters at City Hall, who's standing by with Shannon Zagidniak, who we are calling the councillor-elect for Ward 8.
All right, well, I always laugh at the power of Zoom. We can find anybody. Thanks for joining us, Shannon. How are you feeling right now?
I'm feeling really good and really excited to represent Ward 8 for another 4 years. I mean, you all have called it. Does that mean it's official?
Oh, no.
Exactly.
So there's been a lot of change on the council. How are you feeling potentially going into a council that is a lot of change? Are you scared? Are you nervous? Excited?
I'm excited. And honestly, I'm happy to work with whoever gets elected. And that was the case last term. That's the case this term. But I think that Regina residents have been clear that they'd like to see some differences in terms of what this city council is prioritizing. And honestly, I felt the same way. So I look forward to working with the new group on council to move forward in a better way.
So what was your experience out there going door to door? What are people saying?
Well, I'm glad you asked that, because the first thing I want to talk about is my black eye that I experienced, or that I received while door knocking, and I fell on one of our city sidewalks. So that was one experience that I had, and I already had it as a priority to really look into our sidewalk repair process, because it's falling short. We had invested more money to address our sidewalk backlog. It's not working. And so there's something more that needs to be addressed. And then I fell on my face. So let's say it's an even bigger priority. But what I heard on the doorsteps is, yes, folks are unhappy in general with the direction of council. And there's been lots of decisions from council that I've also been unhappy with. And I look forward to working with this new council in a better and more collaborative way to represent Regina, but also keep us forward focused and keep us working toward important changes, but in a way where we are receptive to and demonstrate that we're listening to what residents, what their priorities are and what their concerns are.
Yeah. In Ward 8, this is your second term, I believe.
Yeah.
The experience you had, was the experience any different from your first election? I've heard a lot that this second election was a lot different. I don't know if you had a different experience.
Well, there was certainly, I'll say there was more interference in the election from anonymous groups, which is concerning. And some of these groups these are not all local groups, but some of them we don't even know because where their financing and influence comes from, because they're anonymous. And I think it speaks to a need to address campaign financing. As one of my priorities, I have a commitment to increased transparency and accountability at council. Some of these changes are not within our municipal purview. Some of them would have to be made provincially. But I think we can look at all the outside influence in this campaign as examples of the need for more transparency in the election process.
Yeah. Well, before we let you go and celebrate and revel in your success, anything else you want to tell our viewers? Anything else you want to share at this time?
I want to thank Ward 8 for their continued support, and I want to commit to the residents of Ward 8 that I am a full-time counselor, and I'm ready to take on the challenge of representing the ward and being responsive to your needs and advocating for those needs at City Council. This is a huge responsibility and it's a huge honor, and I so happy to be back doing it again for another 4 years. So thank you, Ward 8, for your support.
All right. Well, thank you, Shannon Sekundiak. I'm not seeing a lot of movement up there anymore, so I'm going to officially call it. But I mean a nod. I'm just AccessNow TV. But thanks for answering my call today. Thanks for joining us, and maybe we'll see you back there in that circle. Thanks, Shannon.
Sounds great. Thank you. Thanks for the interview. Thank you.
Thanks.
Bye.
All right. Well, we'll throw it back to the guys, and maybe more results are coming in.
Well, Lisa, we are calling it here in-house that Shannon Zakidniak will be the next councillor of Ward 8, or I guess continue to be the councillor in Ward 8 as she's the incumbent. It includes North Central now. That's a new change in this election.
Yeah, with redistricting, sorry about that. The Ward 8, which was, North Central, which was in Ward 3 the last number of years, is now in Ward 8. So Shannon will have some issues to deal with North Central and trying to improve that community.
And I wanted to point out a really sticking point that Shannon pointed out in that interview too, is division on council, right? And touched on outside influence as well, which we can get into as well. But definitely that division on council and the need for change. She even said herself that she was looking forward to seeing some change in this election.
Yeah, I think the previous council would be the first to admit that there has been a lot of division between the two of them, between the bunch of them, and a lot of decisions that were made were not unanimous. A lot of them went 6-5, and there was very rarely any cohesion amongst them, and so it'll be interesting to see how this new council will play out, whether there'll be a unifying force or whether or not there'll be some division.
One of those sticking points, one of those battle points was the Regina Exhibition Association Limited, REAL, better known as, call it a scandal if you will, but it was definitely a sticking point in this election. Let's hear what the mayoral candidates had to say right here on AccessNow TV during the mayoral debate.
So a healthy REAL district is vital for economic growth and tourism. How will you ensure the Regina Exhibition Association Limited is creating economic growth opportunities for our community? This question will go first to Mr. Pratt. You have 1 minute.
Thank you. The Regina Exhibition Association holds a long and respected place in our city's history. It also has a crucial role in our future. While I'm disappointed the current council mayor allowed REAL to have the slip into its current state, we must look forward and work to restore it. What's happened's happened. How we're going to move forward is what's important. REAL needs to transform into a vibrant and relevant organization that contributes to the economic growth and tourism. This will require significant change. The REAL of tomorrow will look different than the REAL of today. As mayor, my role will be to ensure council council understands REAL's potential to work in concert with REAL board to convene the stakeholders needed to drive transformation. This effort will extend beyond the sole responsibility of the board of directors of REAL. It will require collaboration from all actors, making REAL an active player within our city's tourism and entertainment landscape. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Pratt. To you, Ms. Brashani, you have 1 minute.
Thank you very much. Right now, we know REAL is not healthy. We need to look at all options and reevaluate what the best business model moving forward is. And we know the current model is not sustainable. I brought forward the motion to look at options for REAL because we knew that it is not sustainable for the taxpayers of Regina. So we also appointed a new board to reevaluate whether that remains a municipal corporation of the city or looks at alternative business models. As your mayor, I will direct the REAL board to come forward with a sustainable business plan that we can take to the public while REAL plays a critical role in our local economy.
Thank you, Ms. Brashani. To you, Ms. Masters, you have 1 minute.
Thank you. We need REAL to be successful because it represents $285 million in economic impact to this city. And it's one of our core recreational hubs and a center for community gathering. As mayor, I have for several years pressed for the development of a sustainable financial model to help not only invest properly in the capital assets that exist there that are city-owned, but also to recover out of the COVID debt that was incurred. I've consistently been a champion for any programming that brings new tourism dollars into our city. And if re-elected, I'm going to continue to press for investment in the maintenance, repair, and performance of our existing assets and to fund new infrastructure. We need facilities to attract more national sporting, trade show, and conventions to our city. Every city wants to host. Other cities are investing heavily, and we are falling further behind. We need to compete with the right facilities and space. I know we're the best host, and we have the absolute best volunteers in this city.
Thank you, Ms. Masters. All right, to you, Mr. Sparvier, we are talking about a healthy, real district. You have 1 minute.
What I'd like to do first of all is, because we're on Treaty 4 land, and since real is such a big part of our city, I think we need to put a big teepee on there for land acknowledgement, just so people can start feeling more of a connection to that area from the people that live here. Some of the other things that I would like to do when it comes to the real is I would like to, if we could, get back to like individuals of the city. Maybe we could have cost recovery where people could rent and lease those areas out so they could have individual concerts, more private concerts, or even just concerts where the city could come, but have it at a cost where they can just come and pay what it costs just for the event, not all the overhype, just what it physically costs for it. Because there's lots of musicians in town, but they just don't have a big enough venue. And if they did have the big enough venue at a reduced cost or subsidized cost that the city would help them with, I think that would also help with the tourism that's down there. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sparvier. Ms. Bushenlanga, you have 1 minute.
I live close to Rio, so there's nothing interesting going on in Rio. It's very empty. Like taxpayers' money wasting there, and it's just so empty. I don't think Madonna is going to come over there and give any concert. We have second-class artists coming over there and giving concerts, and I will develop that land for something more aggressive, which is like it's a beautiful land for affordable housing. That's my plan.
Thank you,
as
Ms.
their mayor.
Thank you, Ms. Bushenlanga. Mr. Brzezinski, you have 1 minute.
Real has obviously been quite controversial in the last number of years. We need more oversight, obviously, and better oversight. The previous CEO had a $400,000 credit card limit with no accountability. Real is not giving us a return on investment that we need. It needs a comprehensive review. It's only vital for economic growth and tourism if it's attracting and holding events that bring revenue to the city. So we need to take a much more critical look at the current model and be open to different operating models for Real, like private investment and shared ownership.
Thank you, Mr. Brzezinski. To you, Mr. Kardash, 1 minute.
Fun fact, 3.5 million visitors per year, 345 GDP, 100 acres of connectivity to use for our city's desires. It's been around since 1884, a nonprofit organization, which means it won't be going anywhere time soon. It's a huge part of Regina. A healthy Real district can include more concerts, activities, football fields, meeting rooms, and the building itself. More activities to be held in the hockey arenas, mosaic this summer, farmers markets every Saturday, incomes towards small businesses to thrive off of, person interaction. Typically used for concerts, the Queen City X for a few days of the summer. Space in the summer, outside activities, children's programs that connect and nature that still bring the city. Lowering the cost of programs. Bring more opportunities, all families, and the cost of lowering and coming and making the session of our...
Thank you, Mr. Kardash.
All right, well, we have found Ted Gilletta. Access is calling it, Ted. You have taken Ward, or Subdivision 1. How are you feeling?
Feels great, and you know what, always I know I've done everything I could at the doorstep during the campaign, and just a positive vibe that you never take for granted. So now a little bit sigh, and then I'm just so happy to be re-elected. So that sense, voters actually spoke. So they spoke and they said the sound clear. So I'm delighted back to get to work.
Awesome, Ted. What are some of the things you were hearing out in your subdivision?
Well, first of all, overcrowding.
Yeah.
And that's the number one issue. My subdivision, that Greens area, one of the fastest growing cities in Regina. Especially even if you take the Wascana Plain schools, that was built for only 600 students, now over 1,000. So we need urgent needs. That's the one. Average school size about 32, 33. So teachers are tired. They are exhausted. I'm so happy at the last budget the government have announced for new schools, for the elementary school to high school to build that area. So when I get elected, my advocacy is we need that construction to start right away.
All right. Well, Ted, we are going to get ready. I think the new mayor is coming in the room, but I want to congratulate you on subdivision number 1. Ted Gilletta, Access is calling it, and I wish you huge success on your re-election. Thanks, Ted.
Thank you so much, Lisa. Thank you. Bye.
You're well. Bye. All right, back to the studio.
Thank you so much, Lisa. Ryan McNally, Graham Condo here, joining you live with Decision 2024 on AccessNow TV. We're waiting for our crews to get set up here to interview the new mayor, Chad Baczynski. First things first, let's call some races here, shall we? Ward 4, we're going to call in Mark Burton's favor.
Yeah, he's ahead by over 200 votes at this point with only 3 polls left. I think it's safe to say Mark Burton is our winner for Ward 4.
Of course, a new member in Ward 4 with Lori Brociani running for mayor, looking like she will finish second in that race. On to Ward 5, looking like Sarah Turnbull will be the new councillor for Ward 5.
Yeah, again, she's ahead by almost 200 votes. A new face on council, and lots of lawn signs in her favor in that ward. Again, this is the ward I live in, so I think we can call her as winner.
On to Ward 7, an incumbent has fallen. Trina Nelson, we are going to call, finishes second in that race to Shabna Radins.
Yeah, it's close to 150 vote difference, but with only three polling stations left to report, I think it's safe to say that Shabna has defeated incumbent Trina Nelson.
And then moving on to Ward 10, looking like we will call Clark Bezzo the winner in Ward 10.
Yeah, Clark is ahead by over 100 votes, about 150-ish votes. Again, it's pretty easy to see that at this point he should win. Heading back to Ward 1, I just want to take a look at that real quick. This one is still too close to call at this late stage. There's about 45 votes in between the two, Dan Rasevich and Joanne Crawford. Very close at this point.
As well as Ward 2, a race we've watched all night long. Again, so many candidates in Ward 2, 7 candidates in Ward 2. Really split up the vote there. George Zaklis currently in the lead over incumbent Bob Hawkins. And then over in Ward 9 as well, it's still an incredibly close race as well, with Jason Mancinelli hanging on by a thread. He's up by 37 votes in that race.
Yeah, so again, I remember this time last year, we had basically called every single ward by this time, and we're about 20 to 11 tonight. We're still waiting to declare who the ward councillors are going to be in this next term.
Do you feel like some of these wards might go to recount?
They will. And actually, these results, we should clarify, these are unofficial results tonight. And this is done by choice by the city clerk's office and Elections Regina. The official results will be posted tomorrow, which will be similar, but we could see some recounts if there's too close to call.
And some of those wards too might be too close to call until mail-in ballots come in too, right?
It's
because off the top of the show, we had the city clerk Jim Nickel come in and say, we sent out a number of mail-in ballots that haven't been returned at this time yet.
Yeah. So who knows, the potential strike by Canada Post might play into this as well. Hopefully not, because I believe the strike isn't supposed to start until Friday, but that might be an issue. We're looking at the live feed here at City Hall. We're looking at the door of the entrance, the public entrance, not right, and we're waiting for the mayor-elect to arrive. We've been told he's due to arrive at about 11:15. So we'll see what happens, but we're very close to getting the first scrum for Chad Baczynski as mayor-elect.
And we continue to wait for that, but continue to wait for more results as well through the 3 wards that we're looking at here, as well as Subdivision 6 for the Regina Public School division race as well. That was a little too close to call earlier on in the night. I hope we can take a look at those results here for Subdivision 6 for the Regina Public School division, and possibly call that one. I believe the votes were about a 200 vote difference in Subdivision 6 when I last checked.
Yeah, Subdivision 6, Brandon Shea Mutala has over a 200 vote lead over Douglas Armbruster. So I think we can definitely say that that Brandon Shea Mutala will be the newest member on the public school division. He'll be he's the only candidate who's not a he's the only winner who's not a who didn't
Incumbent,
want it.
yes.
Incumbent. Thank you very much.
And that was because Tara Molson, who won in 2020, did not run again in 2024. So Brandon Shea Mutala getting the vote in Subdivision 6, which means we just have 3 more pieces of paper to go here, Graham, before we call this a night and an election here in Regina.
Yeah, it's exciting times, and as it stands right now, Shannon Zakidniak is the only incumbent elected. Jason Mancinelli is in the lead, and right now, if the leaderboard doesn't change, those 2 names, those 2 councillors will be the only incumbents on this next council.
Which again seems insane when you look at past elections, even in 2020 when it was considered an election of change. I mean, we still had a lot of incumbents return, you know, with new mayor, with possibly up to 9, maybe even 8 new councillors. Like, this is truly an election of change here in 2024.
Yeah, it's kind of a bit of a clean slate council where the voters have spoken and said, we want new ideas, we want fresh ideas on council. So people can glean whatever they want to glean from this election, but there are going to be new faces and new ideas coming forward soon.
We continue to wait for Chad Baczynski, the first scrum for Chad as the mayor-elect for the city of Regina. Graham, were we watching any rural elections at this point, or any outside of Regina?
I haven't been able to keep track of any of them, just because our election has just been so close in many of the wards. I can tell you that the only mayor I know for sure, I haven't been able to check other cities, but Swift Current is definitely having Al Bridle as acclaimed. He's the only acclaimed mayor amongst the bigger cities in Saskatchewan. He first was elected in 2020, and he's acclaimed here in 2024.
So we'll maybe get a look at some of the rural or outside of Regina cities. I know Saskatoon had a pretty close race as well with Charlie Clark not running for re-election up in Saskatoon, but former mayor Don Atchison was running for mayor as well, as was former Sask Party MLA Gord Wyant. So certainly an interesting race north on Highway 11. So hopefully we get some results from that as well as I look over at Graham's laptop.
Yeah, I have some results right here, and looking at Saskatoon, looks like Cynthia Block is going to be the winner for mayor in Saskatoon. With she's got about a 5,000 vote lead over Gordon Wyant, who was a member of the Saskatchewan Party government at one time, And then Don Atchison, who was a longtime mayor of Saskatoon, he's in a bit of a distant third at this point. Looking at, just taking a look at results here from Weyburn for mayor, it looks like Jeff Richards is going to be the mayor. He's ahead of Marcel Roy, and the other candidate was Bruce Croft. So as far as I can see, Jeff Richards is in the lead in Weyburn.
That'd be a change because Marcel Roy was a mayor in Weyburn for a long, long time.
Yeah, for sure. Just pulling up the results for Estevan. I'm not. I don't know if all the votes have come in for that election. Right now, Anthony Cernick is ahead by about 150 votes over Rebecca Ford. So I don't want to say that he's the winner, but he's definitely ahead at this point. And we're just waiting for Mayor-elect Chad Baczynski to join us on screen in just a few moments here. Just looking ahead here, just looking at other places here. I just want to check and see. I'm trying to find out. Sorry, I'm just looking at the election results for Prince Albert here. Looks like Bill Poloniski is ahead as mayor in Prince Albert, and I believe this is Moose Jaw here, where James Murdoch is going to be mayor in Moose Jaw.
So some change all across Saskatchewan, it sounds like, in the municipal election across the province. Of course, this is the third election in as many weeks that Saskatchewan's paying attention to. Of course, the provincial election on October 28th took place, the U.S. election south of the border last week, and tonight, November 13th, looking like a change in the air all across Saskatchewan when it comes to municipal votes.
Yeah, for sure. And it'll be interesting to see how each of the municipalities handle these issues that are top of mind, not just here in Regina, but all municipalities in Saskatchewan. Homelessness is not just a Regina issue. Housing affordability isn't just a Regina issue. Infrastructure is an issue all across the board. So these are issues that are not just limited to Regina. It's limited to everywhere. So so new ideas are afoot.
Let's cycle back here to the ward races that are too close to call at this point, with 3 polling stations in each ward left to report. Ward 1 still looking like a very close race. Dan Rasovich had the lead at last check. Ward 2, again, with 7 different candidates in Ward 2. George Zaklis in the lead in Ward 2, but again, not by very much. And Ward number 9, Jason Mancinelli, the incumbent, first elected in 2016, again, hanging on by a thread, winning that riding by 37 votes so far. So again, we continue to wait for more polls to report. We continue to wait for Chad Baczynski before his first scrum as mayor-elect of Regina. Wanted to ask about voter turnout. Some of these polls that we're seeing, varying numbers throughout the city. What have you thought of the voter turnout so far compared to last election 2020?
Well, like City Clerk Jim Nichols said, it's larger than 2020, but it's still relatively low. And again, like I said at the top of the show, that's not just a Regina issue. That's an issue for every municipality. I can say this about every city clerk's office in every city around the world. They bend over backwards. They do jumping jacks. They do cartwheels to get people to vote. It's a hard sell, and for the life of me, I don't understand why, and many people don't know why that's the case. It's an issue that every municipality struggles with, and I don't know what to say about that.
Yeah, it's certainly an interesting debate, right? I mean, with election results being so low when it comes to voter turnout, I mean, we would have celebrated if 30% of the city, of the eligible voters in the city voted. That's a problem, isn't it?
Yeah, it is a problem. And to be fair, the provincial election, just over half of the population voted. Even federally, they average about 50 to 60% of the vote, of the popular vote. So getting people encouraged to vote it should be top of mind. And we see it in the results today, where some candidates are leading by 37 votes, like Jason Mancinelli. He's leading at this moment by 37 votes. Votes matter. Votes matter. And if you don't vote, you're not helping your community. Get to where it needs to be.
One prime example of that, and I brought it up before we even started our show earlier today, the city of Melfort in their election in 2020 was decided by one vote. And by no means was that a 100% voter turnout election either. One vote decided who was mayor and who wasn't. That, to me, will always be the key reminder that your vote matters.
It does. And yeah, it's something that a lot of countries around the world don't have. Oh, I think we'll stop right there. Looks like our mayor-elect has wandered into the chamber.
Yeah, we'll get the first words from Chad Baczynski, mayor-elect of the city of Regina, just as he gets set to take the podium, makeshift podium, and there he is as reporters start to scrum around Chad Baczynski. We wait to hear what he has to say.
Perfect. Good to go? Awesome. Thank you, Regina. Tonight is a celebration of our collective commitment to our city, our families, and our future. I'm honored and deeply humbled to accept the responsibility of serving as your next mayor. This is a role I do not take lightly, and I want to express my deep appreciation to everyone who believed in our vision and our message. I also want to thank my incredible family, my wife Shallon, who's over there somewhere, who doesn't want to be on camera, and my children Graydon and Cecily, who are home hopefully sleeping right now. Your support and understanding have made it possible for me to pursue this dream of making Regina a safer, more affordable place for everybody. To my outstanding campaign team, I am forever grateful for your hard work, dedication, and belief in this campaign. A special thank you to my campaign manager, Thomas, whose leadership and, more importantly, friendship has been invaluable every step of the way. To Dana, Shauna, Dylan, Christine, Morgan, Rachel, Jill, everybody, thank you for your energy, ideas, and the countless hours that you've invested in this vision. And to everyone else who contributed in ways big and small, from knocking on doors to spreading the word, I couldn't have done this without you. To the other candidates who ran alongside me, thank you for your commitment to our city. Our different perspectives have strengthened the democratic process. Our campaign has been built around a vision of Regina where safety and affordability are the foundation for our growth and success. We set out to make Regina a place where everyone feels safe in their homes, on their streets, and in their neighborhoods. We committed to investing in core infrastructure so that our roads, water systems, and public services are reliable and modern. And we pledged to look out for our most vulnerable, because the city is only as strong as the compassion that it shows for those in need. Tonight we begin the next phase of our journey together. Our work starts with listening and ensuring that every voice in Regina has a place in shaping our future. My commitment is to be accessible, transparent, and accountable so that every resident knows their concerns are heard and acted upon. There will be challenges ahead, but together I am confident we will overcome them. Together we will build a safer, more affordable, and vibrant Regina, a city that every one of us is proud to call home. Thank you, Regina. Thank you for your trust and support in our shared future. And now let's get to work. So, Chad Baczynski, mayor-elect of Regina, what does it mean to you to hear those words? You know, humbling, really humbling. Incredible to see the support, and just really excited to you know, enact and take action on the things that we've talked about for the last number of weeks.
What do you feel won this election for you?
I think a couple things. One, people obviously want some change, you know, a change in what's been happening. Two, I think, you know, there was a lot of talk about, you know, backing and support and who's supporting who, and I confidently can say that we ran a true grassroots word-of-mouth campaign through and through, and I think that really resonated with people, and that's what people took to heart.
Your name jumped to the top as soon as the numbers came in, and you stayed at the top through the whole thing. What was it like? What was going through your head as you saw that happen?
A lot of noise where we were. There was a lot of excitement. I have the best hype man over here in the corner that was keeping everybody pretty excited. So I was trying to stay pretty grounded to make sure that we waited until things came in. But yeah, it was exciting to see. But at the end of the day, it was making sure that we waited until everything came in.
At what point in the campaign did you think, holy cow, I've got a real shot of winning this?
You know, probably in the last 2 weeks, I would say, is when we really felt the momentum start to pick up. Just in talking to residents and getting, I think, the messages and the stories, people saying like, hey, you know, I really believe in this. And yeah, I think in the last couple of weeks, it really felt like the momentum shifted in our favor.
You have a background as a project manager of some very large projects. How do you feel that will serve you as mayor?
I think for me, it's really the ability to understand and connect with administration and see when they're bringing projects forward, understanding the challenges, understanding, you know, everything down to terminology. I think that just hopefully makes things move quicker and we can take action a little faster.
What's your day one priority when you sit down in this office for the first time?
Honestly, listen, learn, look, listen, and learn. That's the biggest thing. I know there's a lot to learn. I know there'll be a massive learning curve and a lot to download. But yeah, I'm up for it. I'm excited.
Chad, when you get into office, it looks like you're going to have almost 3/4 of the council brand new. What does that look like for you, kind of building those relationships with new councillors?
Yeah, you know, I've had the opportunity to build teams, you know, bring in new people, work with new people, understand different personalities. I'm excited. I think it's great. I think that it's an opportunity for everybody, and I know, again, Regina has said they want change. This is a great opportunity to set a new tone for Regina.
What is that tone going to be?
Collaboration, listening, respectful discourse, things that I've heard loud and clear that Regina expects.
What was the call like from Sandra Masters? She called you a little bit earlier. What was that call like?
Wow, you guys are good. Yeah, it was great. It was very, really respectful. Just congratulations and reaching out to offer support in transition and that. So I really appreciated that.
You just kind of spoke to it, but at least right now, based on the unofficial results, 9 new councillors. That's a lot of change in this room. The next time that we're in this room, I guess for you, what does that, I guess, speak to what residents want from the next Regina City Council?
Again, Regina has spoken loud and clear. They want change. They wanted to see a different outlook, a different approach. So that's what I'm excited for. I'm excited that we're going to have some different perspectives, and that's a good thing. We're going to bring it together, and yeah, it'll be new. It'll be very new, but I think it'll be a good thing.
For those voters who may not have been able to take in your entire platform, can you say where you're going to bring that change?
That's a big question. You know, again, my pillars were safety and affordability. I think some of that, especially on the affordability piece, a lot of people have talked about it. Some of the change is, I believe, being realistic. I've said, you know, I don't believe we can freeze property taxes. We need to be realistic. We need to balance the projects, balance the infrastructure, make sure that we're investing in the right things at the right time. So that is what I want to bring forward.
So over the coming weeks, what are your immediate priorities going to be? I guess just getting up to speed would be one of them.
Yeah, getting up to speed. Yeah, meeting with council, understanding, you know, getting to know everybody, really. There's a massive amount of people and process to understand and learn. And yeah, I'm excited to get started and get at it.
How old are you? I just
38.
Okay,
Yeah.
Obviously, a younger kind of vision for council with you. How are you feeling as a 38-year-old now being the top politician in the city?
Great. I've got energy. You can ask my wife. I don't sleep a lot. We got 2 young kids. We're running all the time. So I'm excited. I'm excited to put that energy to use for the city.
Did you ever think you could ever go into politics? Was that ever something you thought of in general? Or?
For sure, yeah. It's something I've thought of, and I have an amazing support system behind me that really, kind of gave me that extra push to say, you know what, the time is now. Let's try it. Let's go for it. And here we are.
Where are you headed, tonight immediately after we're done here? Are you going back to where you were before, or going home?
Probably home. Yeah, I think my daughter's asleep, but I think my older son might be eagerly waiting to see his dad. So we'll probably head home to go see them.
Everybody good? Cool. Chad, thank you very much.
Thank you, guys.
We're live with Access.
Okay.
That's Chad Baczynski, the mayor-elect for the city of Regina. Of course, we are calling that he is won tonight.
Hang on a second.
We'll head straight back to City Hall actually here. Lisa Peters has Chad Baczynski one-on-one.
One is...
Actually, never mind.
Oh,
never mind.
Never mind. We will.
This is live TV.
Live. Yes.
Yep. So.
We'll continue. We'll wait for Lisa and Chad, as I understand that they are getting set up here to chat one-on-one, and yeah, we'll continue to chat away, kill some time, wait for Chad to join us here live on AccessNow TV.
Yeah.
Should note, Chad Baczynski missed out on being the youngest mayor in Regina's history by 3 years, as Francis Drake served as mayor in Regina at the age of 35, beginning in 1898.
That is interesting, but he's certainly the youngest mayor we've had in recent years. So it'll be interesting to see what his youthfulness brings to City Council. Just waiting on Chad to be available here for our live interview with Lisa Peters. And so just before then, we've got some more results coming in, and it looks like we're going to send it to Chad.
Are we here? All right. Congratulations. It was wonderful to meet you during the mayoral debate. I thought you did an amazing job. Your answers are very thoughtful, and I loved hearing just being a project manager. And I think of scope, time, cost, the triangle. You got a lot of projects that have been put forward, started. Where do you feel your priorities are?
Yeah, I've talked a lot in the campaign about the different projects. I think first and foremost, we have the pool that's already approved. I want to make sure that we're in a good place where that can continue to move forward. We've got RFP out for the library. Interested to see how that comes back. So we have some stuff on the books already, but really I do want to get into, we've got winter coming up. We've got lots of people really interested about our infrastructure and our, everything down to snow clearing. So again, what do we have set up in the way that we're working with administration to make sure we're covering what people expect? So those, really looking at the first, what's in front of us, and let's start working our way out from there.
You have a big learning curve. I mean, not only you as new mayor, but I'm thinking it's 9 out of 10 new councillors. What would be your first message to councillors and you as new to running this city?
I would say let's work together. Let's get to know each other. Let's get to know how we all make decisions, how we interact with each other, personalities. I mean, these are all important things when it comes to leadership, and that's how we're going to be effective as a team and as a council.
Good. Now, I mean, again, going back to a project manager, and we measure success. Have you thought of how you would measure your success as a mayor with the upcoming projects?
That's a big one. I think for me, if I was to look at the whole term, in this moment, I would just say that I want to leave Regina in a better place than where it started. That's what I can say today, but definitely need to get into the weeds.
That's pretty good. All right, well, congratulations. I know your wife's here, your kids at home, maybe they're in bed, maybe not.
Tough to say.
But congratulations, and I look forward to seeing you on council. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
All right, well, that is it for me here at City Hall. Congratulations to not only Chad Baczynski as our new mayor, but the many new council members leading our city.
Thank you so much, Lisa. Again, great report from Henry Baker Hall, City Hall. from Lisa Peters of Talk of the Town here on Access Now TV. Some more results to show you here tonight before we let you go. Ward 9, we're going to officially call Jason Mancinelli the winner of the Ward 9 election.
So yeah, he is the second and and could be last incumbent to be reelected on this council.
Yes, so we will declare Jason Mancinelli the winner. He has over 100 vote lead in Ward 9 with just one poll to report. Wards 1 and 2, still razor thin races, especially Ward 1.
Yeah, Ward 1, it's still very, very close. There's only one poll left to report. So at this time, we can't declare a victory yet.
Looking at Ward 2, I want to say the numbers haven't exactly changed from the Ward 2 results from polls reporting when just 40 polls were reporting. Now 42 are reporting. I don't believe the numbers have changed at all, if any. But George Zaklis still in the lead in Ward 2, so Bob Hawkins in a bit of trouble.
Yeah, again, we're not going to declare it because it is razor thin. But George Zaklis is positioned to be the winner, but not officially yet.
And again, these, of course, unofficial results. Official results get announced tomorrow by the City of Regina. A lot of these counts could also go to recount as well, right? And especially Wards 1 and 2 that remain too close to call.
Yeah, it's quite possible that may happen. So we'll see what the sun brings out tomorrow morning. But at this time, we can safely say there will be at least 8 new faces on council tomorrow.
And with that, we will also talk about the swearing-in ceremony coming up on Monday, which will be carried live right here on Access Now TV. So hope you stay tuned for that. Yeah. And also, next time you'll see me is on Regina Pats Hockey, 1 week from tonight, when we welcome the Tri-City Americans to town.
Yes, and hopefully the Pats can turn things around and get a few wins under their belt.
That would be very nice to call some goals.
Yeah.
That'd be great.
Yeah.
So with that in mind, this has been Decision 2024 on Access Now TV. I'm Ryan McNally, joined alongside Graham Kondo. Lisa Peters down at Regina City Hall had a great cast and crew here today to help us with Decision 2024, led by director and producer Spencer Burridge. On camera in-house, we had Emmett Kish, Chris Ross, Caden Mallory down at City Hall. Patrick Palmer was our floor director. Audio was Andrew Cottrell. Graphics, Serenity Alberton helped us out with the graphics. They look incredible, as by the way. Switcher was Navjot Kaur. Broadcast tech was Jake Liu. Master control, Ian Ott. And as mentioned, director and producer Spencer Burridge. Thank you so much, Regina, for watching our coverage of Decision 2024 on Access Now TV.
If you'd like to share your feedback on the program you just watched, contact us today